Welcome to the Tout Wars AL only live stream. I am Justin Mason, writer at Fangraphs and Fantasy Pros, as well as a podcaster on Sleeper and the Buzz podcast and the Friends of Fantasy Benefits podcast. Today we'll be live streaming the Tout Wars AL only auction here live in New York. I'm in a conference room next door. We'll be following the board, but as they get started here in the next couple minutes, I'm going to try to sneak in to give you guys a direct look at the beginning of this auction so you can kind of hear and see how things will be going. I'm actually going to do that right now, see if I can just quietly sneak in. So I won't be talking here for the next few minutes as we kind of get a little bit of a sneak peek into the Tout Wars auction. So let me unplug my computer and see if I can sneak us in to this Tout Wars auction. I'll have to be a little bit quiet, but this will give you guys an idea of what we're dealing with here.
Justin is going to be. Justin is live streaming us. He may be asking you to join him on the live stream during the breaks. Sirius is maybe arrangements with you already to talk during their 3-hour show. If they're not, make some weird picks and maybe you get on.
Here, I don't care.
Are we questions? We're sticking by the rule. We'll after the season, we'll ask you guys for some feedback on the swingman rule. It literally was like a 10 to 10 to 1 vote. And had Jeff voted one way or another, we would have changed the rule.
Sorry. Thanks, Jeff.
Don't care.
All
right, Jason, I'm ready now.
Let's go. We'll ask for some more feedback and then make a better judgment this year. So you guys are still on our road. Don't have to worry about it.
Just carry the bag.
Right.
First fab period.
The first fab period, and well, let's talk about the Japan games too. You're going to lock yourselves in, the players in Japan that are playing in the Japan series. You're going to lock them in before the series, after the result.
So currently they're getting some logistical things set up and some rules. We'll head back in there once the auction itself has started to kind of give you a feel of how things go. So this is an AL only 5x5 league. The only main differences in this format, feel like you're watching in Clarkfield. Well, that's because I just brought my laptop in so you guys can get a direct look at kind of what's going on in there. We'll go back in there in a few minutes and give you guys a feel as the auction is going on. I'll be live streaming, kind of doing analysis on the auction as it goes. Unfortunately, because of the size of that room, I won't be able to just sit in there and kind of talk about the auction as it goes, but I will be following along with you. There is a sheet that is covering all of the auctions. Let me actually, I'll just share that here. Yeah, I did. I cleaned up, had to look nice for my Tout Wars weekend. So I believe you can find the link to the board on Twitter, and I will share it here in the comments of the YouTube. So Tout Wars is a 5x5 AL only league. It has kind of somewhat standard positions with a few twists. Your typical 9 pitchers, 2 catchers, a first, second, short, third baseman, but then an infield spot instead of a CI or an MI. Only 4 outfield spots, a util, and then 2 swing positions. And swing positions in the AL and the NL only league can you want your Blair Witch project comment up on the screen. So the swing position can be a hitter or a pitcher. Because AL and NL are so deep in 12 teams, a few years ago they moved to swingman position. And I don't know if you could hear it while I was in the other room, there's a discussion on whether or not that is going to continue in the future. This is kind of a different thing that most leagues don't do in terms of a setup, is having that swing position and the ability to kind of go between a hitter and a pitcher. But because of the depth of these leagues and the shallowness of the waiver wire, it's kind of a really cool thing that Tout Wars does. So it sounds like they may be getting rolling here fairly soon. As soon as we see kind of the first player go on the board, I'll move back into there for a little bit and give you guys kind of a general idea of kind of how the bidding goes, being able to listen in for a little while. And then I'll come back here and offer analysis. So we'll put the board up just so we can see once that starts happening. We have an idea of what's going on there. Let me know if you need the board a little bit larger or a little bit smaller, depending on, well, not a little bit smaller, but a little bit larger in order to see everything well. That may be the best I can do in terms of it, but I did drop a copy of the board in there. So in this league, oh, I need to have the AL only board. We have Patrick Davitt. We have Andy Andres. We have Doug Dennis, Chris Blessing, Jeff Erikson, Larry Schechter, Jason Collette, Mike Podhorzer, Rafael Robb, Colton and the Wolfman, Ian Kahn, and Rob Leibowitz. All of these guys have been in this league for quite a bit, except for maybe Rafael. I don't know how long he's actually been this, but for the most part, the league has been together for a really long time. Yes, we were up very, very early this morning in order to be here on time. So appreciate y'all watching along. So I'm hoping that it looks like we have our first few purchases. Tariq Skubal to Andy Andres for $34. Jose Altuve for $25, and then Jackson Jobe over to Rick and Glenn for $4. I'm going to try to sneak in there real quick and kind of give you guys a little bit of an insight to the bidding process and how things go in there. So, yeah, we definitely get some fun nominations early on. They do not necessarily just go in order of perceived price or ADP. So I'm going to move in and I'm going to go quiet for a minute while we watch a little bit of this.
Cal Raleigh for $9. Cal Raleigh, $9. 19 from Andy. 19 from Andy on Cal Raleigh. 20 from Larry. 21 from Andy. That's Cal Raleigh. 22 from Larry. 23 from Andy. That's 23 on Cal Raleigh. Raleigh at 23 going once. Raleigh at 23 going twice. Raleigh at 23 sold to Andy. Cal Raleigh 23. Andy Andrews.
He's got a battery now.
Patrick.
Jared Duran, 22.
Jaron Duran 22 is the opening bid.
27.
I got 27 from Jeff.
28.
29. 29 from Jeff. 29 on Duran. 29 on Duran once. 30 from Larry. Jaron Duran at 30. $30 once.
31.
31 from Jeff. That's 31 on Duran. 31 going once. 31 going twice. 31 sold. Jaron Duran, 31 to Jeff Erikson.
Bobby Witt, 35.
Bobby Witt Jr., 35. 36 for me. 37.
40.
I got 40. 40 from Rob.
41.
41. I got 41 on Witt.
42.
42 from Ian. 42 from Ian on Bobby Witt Jr. Witt at 42, going once. Witt at 42, going twice. Witt at 42, sold. Bobby Witt Jr., 42 to Ian Cullen.
He said Bobby Witt, not Bobby Witt Jr., but Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt Jr. is still available.
John.
Garrett Crochet.
Gary Crochet, opening bid is 20. 20 on Garrett Crochet. 22 Leibowitz.
25.
25. I got 25 from Jason.
26.
26 from Chris. That's 26 on Garrett Crochet. Crochet at 27 from Collette. 27 on Crochet. Crochet at 27 going once. Crochet at 27 going twice. Crochet at 27 goes to Jason Collette. Chris Blessing.
Let's go with Cody Bellinger, $10.
Cody Bellinger, 15, Colton Wolf. Bellinger,
17.
17 from Erikson.
18.
18,
19.
Ian, 19, Erikson.
21.
21 from Leibowitz, 22 from Colton Wolf. 22 on Bellinger from Colton Wolf. 23 from Leibowitz. Bellinger, 25 from Colton Wolf. Bellinger, 25 from Colton Wolf once.
26.
26 for Blessing. That's 26 on Bellinger. Bellinger, 26 going once. Bellinger, 27, Colton Wolf. That's 27 on Bellinger to Colton Wolf. 27 going once. 27 going twice. 27 sold. Cody Bellinger, 27 to Colton Wolf. Jeff is up.
Jordan Alvarez, 31.
Don Alvarez, opening bid is 31.
For this one.
32 from Ian. 32 on Jordan Alvarez.
33.
33 from Jeff. 34 from Ian.
35.
35 from Rob.
36.
36 from Chris. It's 36 on Jordan Alvarez. Alvarez at 36.
37.
37 from Erikson. That's 37 on Alvarez. 38 from Podhorzer. That's 38 on Jordan Alvarez.
39.
39 from Chris. That's 39 on Alvarez. 39 going once. 39 going twice.
40.
40 from Mike. That's 40 on Jordan Alvarez. 40 going once. 40 going twice. 40 sold. Jordan Alvarez, $40 to Mike Podhorzer. Larry's up.
All right, so there's kind of a look into the auction. The AL room can be a little rowdier than the NL room, though. Seems like people are just starting to wake up. Let's talk about some of the prices that have gone on. And so some of the questions, here we go. Over under raise for Colette. So yeah, we'll see. You know, you never really know exactly what Colette's going to do. You got to expect he's going to get at least a few rays on his roster. So yeah, so there are 4 reserves in this league. They're not part of the bidding. There's a snake draft at the end of the auction. So far they're moving fast already. Indy Andres, who typically starts out pretty stars and scrubby, goes very heavy, kind of upper tier players. He just got his 3rd player, Aaron Judge, for $50, Cal Raleigh for $23, and Tariq Skubal for $34. So he has already spent quite a bit of money, over $100, $107 so far on 3 players. Doug Dennis landed Jose Altuve for $25. We have Jeff Erikson landing Jaron Duran for $31. Larry Schechter lands the big closer Emmanuel Clase for $23. Garrett Crochet goes to Jason Collette for $27. Mike Podhorzer gets Jordan Alvarez for $40. Rafael Rob has 2 players, Vlad Guerrero Jr. for $40, Luis Castillo for $19, Rick and Glenn, Colton and the Wolfman. They have 2 players, Cody Bellinger, Jackson Joe, Bellinger for $27, and Joe for $4. And then Ian Kahn, who moved over to this league from the National League auction this year. He got Bobby Witt for $42. For those who don't know a little bit about kind of the makeup and history of this league, obviously Jason Collette, a big fan of the Rays and will likely end up with some Rays on his team. Colton the Wolfman often spend a lot on Yankees. And Ian Kahn, like I said, this is his first year in the AL League, so it'll be interesting to see how he kind of plays it after being very, very competitive. 2 firsts and a 2nd place in the National or NL Only League over the course of the last 3 seasons. Rob Leibowitz gets his 1st player, Adley Rushman, at $22. Now remember that this is an on-base percentage league, as Rafael Rob gets his 3rd player, Sal Perez, for $19. So that will change some of the values, and catchers tend to go for a lot. As we see the first 3 catchers being thrown out, Cal Raleigh for $23, Adley Rushman for $22, and Sal Perez for $19. So yeah, the being a 2-catcher AL only league, these prices will be pretty high on these catchers. Yeah, so a really, really good point here. So Andy has a kind of a reputation for kind of going very stars and scrubbies, very hard on the offense, and not really a ton on the pitching. It hasn't worked yet, but it is a really interesting strategy because he gives himself the opportunity to build up that offense, and then he can try to make trades for pitching in season. I prefer a more balanced approach. Yes. And Nancy's pointing out Bobby Witt only $2 more than Vlad Guerrero Jr. That's the thing about an auction, right? Is we see all the time. If we start comparing prices kind of across the board, we go, well, I'd much rather have this, $20 player versus this $15 player this guy got here. But it's not dynamic, or it's dynamic pricing, right? This is not all being done in a vacuum. You don't know what the price on individual players is going to be, even a nomination or two later. So it's really hard to compare, and it's one of those things that I didn't, think about as much until I started doing these auctions, which is like, yeah, sure, maybe you would much rather have that Bobby Witt Jr. at $42 as opposed to the Vlad Guerrero Jr. at $40, but you didn't know the price was going to come out when you were bid on Witt when you were bidding on Vlad Guerrero Jr. or vice versa. So Gunnar Henderson, $36 to Larry Schechter. Larry's won this league a number of times and a very good player in his own right. So very interesting to see him spending early. He is very, very strict to his kind of pricing schedule. Jason Collette adds his second player, gets Logan O'Hoppe for $19. And Chris Blessing on the board, $42 for Jose Ramirez. Remember, this is on base percentage league, so that definitely helps Jose Ramirez a little bit more. Though, of course, Jose Ramirez, an elite player, no matter the format. If you let me know, you guys, if you want me to go back into the room and just stream kind of the auction itself for a little bit, I got no problem doing that throughout the day. I'll be covering all 4 hours or whatever this is of the Tout Wars auction. So, and then Eric Halterman will be covering the mixed auction, which starts this afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern time. I will be in that auction, so Eric will be streaming that. I will be streaming the NL only auction, which starts at 9 a.m. tomorrow. And then Jason Collette will be streaming the head-to-head auction from 10 a.m. That one is located at the Bel Claire. We're at the Hotel Edison in New York City. So there'll be 2 separate live streams going for the 2 separate auctions tomorrow. And as we have people get some breaks in the room, we'll have them come in and join us and talk about what they're doing kind of in the auction, their strategy, how things are going. There'll be at least 3 breaks throughout the day. So we'll have plenty of time to talk to a number of people in the leagues. Framber Valdez goes to Chris Blessing. It's his second player for $23. And I believe that makes us caught up on the board for right now. So, as Chris Blessing, it looks like is getting his third player, Victor Robles, for $22. Victor Robles for $22 seems like a pretty large price. But I mean, he is a huge speed asset, going to be hitting on top of that Seattle lineup. So, no, and so here's one of the things about Tout Wars is there is unlimited IL spot. Well, actually, in the AL only, I don't think there is unlimited IL spots. That's actually a really good question. I should double check on that. So I know in the mixed auction that I'm in, there's unlimited IL spots. I actually don't think. I think they only have 4 IL spots. I wonder if it's actually listed on the board. It doesn't look like it is. So that is a pretty big price on a guy who's currently dealing with an injury. But it sounds like Henderson should be ready to go pretty early in the season, if not ready for the start of the season. Shea Langoliers goes to Larry Schechter for $15. We've now seen our fifth catcher come on the board. That's the cheapest one we've had so far. Oh, actually, Yonir Diaz, Jeff Erikson for $17. So that is actually our sixth catcher. And Shea Langoliers being the cheapest of the six so far at $15. So far we have only one team that has not purchased a player yet, and that is Patrick Davitt, yet to spend a single dollar. So it'll be interesting to see, with some of these prices being fairly high early on, if we're going to see Patrick try to play the middle game here and try to soak up a lot of value kind of in the middle. Just to make sure your beverages are secured, can we find where can we find these results when completed? So I have a copy of the board. It is public. I will throw it again into the sheet here, and you know what? Honestly, what I'll do is I will edit real quick the description to the YouTube to include the draft board. So just give me 1 second, and I'll do that. So that way, it's a Google sheet. That's where they store the information on the draft board. So it should be on the description of the YouTube now as well. Hopefully, if not, let me know, and I will actually I'll just double check that on the YouTube link itself as opposed. Yeah, it should be on there now. This is going to be really fun. We'll see how fun it is 4 hours in, and then having to do a 5-hour auction for myself afterwards. But it was an idea that the Tout Wars board had this year, and I was happy to kind of jump in. So we, since the last update, we get Bailey Ober at $17 to Jeff Erikson. We get Seth Lugo at $14 to Larry Schechter. And Jose Barrios to Rob Leibowitz at $12. And then I think that might be it so far. Really loving that price on Bailey Ober at $70 to Erikson. Really like the start of his team. You get that high floor catcher, Yonir Diaz for $17. You get kind of a stud pitcher at the top of your rotation in Bailey Ober for just $17. And then Jerry Duran, top of the order, stud hitter with young upside at $31. Love that. We got Andy Andres going $22 on Jacob deGrom. So Andres has kind of done what he usually does, which is a very stars and scrubby approach. But instead of going majority offense, he's starting to spread that kind of stars and scrubsness around his pitching staff as well, too. He's got Tariq Skubal, $34. Jacob deGrom at $22, and then his offense is Cal Raleigh, who gets that boost from the on-base percentage portion of the league, and then Aaron at $23, and Aaron Judge at $50. So we're already, we're just not even a half hour into this auction, and Andy has 4 players. He's already only got $131 left to spend out of his initial $260. Ian Kahn gets Mike Trout, so he pairs Bobby Witt Jr. at $40 with Mike Trout at $24. A really good gamble, right? If Trout stays healthy, the problem is Trout never stays healthy. So I'm not as big of a fan as Trout. You appreciate the phrase "stars and scrubness." So this is a really big gamble, right? And I'm not as big a fan on guys like Trout and deGrom in this kind of format. This is 12-team, AL only. There is no depth on the waiver wire. When you lose those guys, it's not like you're replacing them with someone who can even come close to delivering not just their value, but any value. And so I like to stay about as risk averse as possible in a league this deep. I don't love the Mike Trout, Jacob deGrom buys here, but those are shooting the moon type of players, right? And Ian has shown, in recent years that he can dominate these only leagues over in the NL. Can he do it in the AL? That remains to be seen. Julio Rodriguez for $41 to Rob Leibowitz. he adds Julio to that team of Adley Rutschman and Jose Barrios. And Rob won AL only Tout Wars a few years back. So he's a very seasoned player, been in this league a very long time. And I believe he won it back in 2019 or 2020. So the interesting thing is still Patrick Davitt with no players. Though, as I say that, we get Patrick Davitt's first player. He gets Ryan Jeffers for $15. Twins catcher Ryan Jeffers for $15 to add his first player. So everybody is now at least on the board. We have 3 teams with only 1 player. Patrick Davitt getting his first, and Ryan Jeffers. Doug Dennis got an early Jose Altuve, and then has been quiet since. And then we have Yordan Alvarez on Mike Podhorzer's teams for $40. Those are their only players thus far. It'll be really interesting to see what Doug Dennis does here, because Doug, not replacement value and level is the White Sox 4th starter. That's the thing. I don't even know if that 4th starter for the White Sox will be available, and I couldn't even tell you who their 4th starter is this year. I pretty much only know their first starter, Martin Perez, and that's not enticing. So Trout is better in a league with unlimited IL, but if I'm remembering correctly, AL and NL don't have unlimited IL. Only the mixed auction, the mixed leagues do. I believe they only have 4 IL spots. So it's not as easy to take those gambles and stashes in the AL and NL league as it is in the mixed leagues. All right, Cole Reagans goes Rafael Rapp for $22. And just making sure I haven't missed any. It looks like Doug Dennis is getting his second player, which gives us a chance to talk about Doug Dennis. Austin Wells for $16. Remember, the on-base percentage helps him out in this format. So Doug Dennis, the last few years in this format, because there's no innings requirement, there's no innings minimum in this league, he has gone heavy offense and then filled his pitching staff with really, really cheap relievers. Pretty much double punting wins and strikeouts, but attempting to win saves, ERA, and WHIP while dominating the offense. This has worked really well for Doug, and he's won at least 1, if not multiple, AL and Tout Wars in recent seasons doing this. The only problem with that strategy is if someone else tries to play the same thing as you, you kind of cancel each other out, and both will usually finish mid-pack. Andy Andres gets another player. He's got his 5th player. This time it is a $28 Logan Gilbert, adding to his already stacked rotation of Tariq Skubal and Jacob deGrom. So clearly going for that stars and scrubsness that I was referencing earlier. It'll be interesting to see how he fills out this team. You know, stars and scrubs is a lot easier to do in a mixed league format where the $1 players you're going to be getting at the end of the auction is a player that's actually going to play, as opposed to a guy who's a $1 player in an AL only, where you're really looking at bench bats, you're looking at rookies who might contribute, might not. Has a Mason draft stream. What are you going to do when you need to make a pit stop? Well, that is something I had not thought enough about when I agreed to do this, was how I was going to take things like smoke breaks or bathroom breaks. We'll figure that out as we go. What I'll probably do is bring the laptop in and kind of just stream the actual auction itself and let you guys kind of watch the live bidding while I step out. But I will do my best to hold off. The only problem is I bought a really big Diet Coke, which may turn into a problem later. So Andy trying to build a rotation that is $1 proof. I don't know what Andy's going to do here. My assumption is that Andy, he's already spent, what is that? Let's see, $84 on his rotation. My guess is he is not going to add another major pitcher, maybe a lot of major closer. But my guess is that those three at the top of his rotation, Skubal, DeGrom, and Gilbert, will be the kind of the meat of his pitching staff, and he's going to fill the rest in with cheaper players here because typically you want a $90 pitching staff in this kind. Maybe you go up to 100. It seems like he's going to probably need to go up to 100, depending on how much he's willing to spend on a closer at this point. So, Jazz Chisholm to Rick and Glenn. I told you guys earlier that they're big Yankees guys. They kind of go after those Yankees. So $37 to Jazz Chisholm. Again, another guy I'm a little bit more afraid of in this kind of format, than I would be in a mixed league, because the replacement value on the wire, if and when he gets hurt, just isn't there to kind of replace any sort of value. They also added Bo Naylor as an $11 catcher. Marcus Semien to Rob Leibowitz, $21. Simeon's one of these players I do love in this format. Now, this is on base percentage league, and Semien doesn't have quite as much value in an OBP league. But what all Semien does is rack up 700 plate appearance seasons year in and year out. That is so much value in an only league. And at $21, it feels like a really, really good price for Rob Leibowitz, like in his start so far. Jason Collette adds his third player, Josh Hader, $21. So we're starting to see where the market is for closers. Emmanuel Clase at $23, Josh Hader at $21. So people are going to be living in kind of that low 20s, high teens rate, probably for the upper tiers of the closers, and then we'll start seeing guys drop off a little bit. Just looking through the board real quick, see if there's any other players that have been added since I was kind of talking about other stuff. And so far, it looks like that is it. So we're about 30 minutes into the auction. We have Patrick Davitt with one player. We've got Indy Andres with 5 players and a ton of money spent. Doug Dennis has 2. Chris Blessing has 3 players. Jeff Erikson just got his 4th player as I'm speaking right now. Spencer Urgetti for $12. A really interesting gamble, kind of a little high risk, high reward, lots of strikeouts, and almost like a perfect pairing with Bailey Ober, right? Spencer Urgetti maybe can struggle with whip, but will get you a lot of strikeouts. Bailey Ober will have a great whip. The question is, what will the ERA look like if you can keep that home run rate in check or not? So interesting start to Jeff's rotation with Bailey Ober and Spencer Urgetti at $17 and $12. Not having to go over 20 on either of those players is very, very nice. An interesting start for Jeff Erikson. Like his team quite a bit early on. So then Larry Schechter has 4 players. Jason Collette about to add his 4th player, Stephen Kwan, for $23. A very interesting purchase there. I don't know that I like how expensive Kwan is in that outfield, but we're seeing kind of some of the outfield prices be pretty high. But I don't know. It depends on kind of what you want. You want a $24 Mike Trout or a $23 Stephen Kwan? I think Kwan has a much better opportunity to get the 600 plus plate appearances. But I don't know if the upside warrants that $23. Interested to talk to Jason at some point and see what his thinking was that. But he's got 4 players: Logan O'Hoppe, Stephen Kwan, Garrett Crochet, and Josh Hader. Mike Potterworth is still with only 1 player, just the Yordan Alvarez for $40. Rafael Robb has 4 players so far: Sal Perez, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Luis Castillo, and Cole Reagans. Though it looks like he may be adding another player as we speak. Looks like he just added Rafael Devers for $28. $28 feels like a really good price for Rafael Devers, considering some of the other prices so far on infielders. I'm a little bit scared of Devers' shoulder, and so I don't know if I'd be in on that necessarily, but $28 feels like an actual really good price, especially when you compare it to Jazz Chisholm, who just went for $37 to get an $11 discount on Rafael Devers. Seems like actually a pretty decent buy, even if you do have concerns like I do about the potential shoulder issues from last year. And then whatever, all the craziness going on with Boston and trying to figure out where Devers is going to play. So A very interesting buy from Rafael Rob, who's got 5 players: Sal Perez, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Rafael Devers, Luis Castillo, and Cole Reagans. I kind of like that start. It feels a little starty too, but maybe just not as extreme as Andy Andres. Jeff Erikson's adding a player right now, so let's see who he gets. He gets Corey Seager, and it's going to add Corey Seager for a price of $29. Again, I mean, another, pretty decent price, but this is another one of those guys that I worry about a little bit in terms of how many plate appearances he's going to give you in a given season, right? You just can't really project him for 600 plate appearances, and this is a league where volume really matters a ton because there isn't that replacement value. So I don't mind that price on Corey Seager, just maybe not a guy that I would necessarily go for. I do like Jeff's start though. It is an interesting five players so far: Aaron Diaz, Corey Seager, Jeremy Duran, Billy Ober, and Spencer Arrighetti so far for Jeff. So then Rick and Glenn have 4 players: Bo Naylor, Jazz Chisholm, Cody Bellinger, Jackson Jubb. Got another player being awarded right now, Jason Dominguez, to Chris Blessing for $18. The hype on Jason Dominguez is really starting to get going here. As we start to get closer and closer to opening day, he's going to be the left fielder for the Yankees. That has value in itself. If he can hit and make 600 plate appearances, he's an easy 20-20 guy. I like this buy. It's a good gamble there for, with some upside on Chris Blessing. Chris being a fantastic prospect writer in our industry. So, of course, he goes for the young guy. But I really like that pick. And I like Chris's starter. Jose Ramirez at $42, Victor Robles at $22, Jason Dominguez at $18, and Framber Valdez at $23. As Larry Schechter adds his 3rd pitcher, 5th player, Bryce Miller. So he gets kind of a top-tier pitcher in Bryce Miller to go along Seth Lugo, Emmanuel Clase. Really like Larry's start. Larry is a very, very smart drafter, plays a lot of the middle game. You're not going to see him overspend on just about anybody. He stays below his values at all times, which is usually the way I like to auction as well. So really like what Larry is starting to do here. All right. Rafael Rab is a writer at Rotoballer. Really good dude. He's got a proxy here today. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it himself, but he really good dude in the industry. Works over at rotoballer.com. Chris Blessing adds another player. So he adds back-to-back players just after adding Jason Dominguez, $18. He adds Connor Wong at $11. So we now have, 8 catchers off of the board. And the cheapest one was just that Connor Wong buy at $11. Doug Dennis adds his next pitcher. So this is really interesting. Adds Max Fried for $20. So it does not seem like Doug is going to do his the thing that he's done the last few years and kind of go all relievers, kind of punt, strikeouts, and wins. He buys his first starting pitcher, Max Fried, at $20, which feels like a really good price considering some of the other starting pitching prices. I'm a little afraid of kind of what we've seen with Fried in terms of the reoccurring elbow issues that haven't really manifested into anything except missing a little bit of time in 2023. But $20, that seems like a really good purchase price. We get a cheaper player thrown out. I don't know. This is our second $1 player, Kyle Isbell, for $6 in this league. Now, Kyle Isbell is super boring. One of those guys that really isn't going to do much for you in a mixed league. But $6 at a guy who's probably going to play every day in that Kansas City outfield is actually really, really nice price in an AL only. Not someone I would necessarily want outside of maybe a draft champions kind of format in a mixed league, but an AL only, that's a guy that can just accumulate. He's going to play pretty close to every day, if not every day. And at $6, I like that price and that buy from Chris Blessing right there. George Kirby added for $14 to Jason Collette. Now, so this is an interesting guy, right? If we had this auction if we had had this auction like a week ago or a week and a half ago before George Kirby had his shoulder issue, he is probably going for upper 20s, right? He's probably going 20, 29, maybe $30 for a guy like George Kirby. Jason takes the gamble that he's going to be ready here at some point in April after starting the year on, or you're going to start the year on the IL with shoulder soreness, supposedly no structural damage. So a really, really interesting purchase right here from Jason Collette, who starts off his rotation, Garrett Crochet, Josh Hader, and then George Kirby. All right, Andy Andres adds his second catcher. So he's already got two catchers. Got Alejandro Kirk now. He adds that to his Cal Raleigh, Alejandro Kirk for $13. So all of a sudden, Andy becomes the first player to fill up both of his catcher spots. So interesting to see kind of this early going after and getting a second catcher. But we know Andy likes to spend his money early and then kind of wait around for the dollar days. So he'll have a fairly large break here at some point because he will run out of money. He's already at a point where I believe he's only got $90 left to spend at this point, and he's only got 6 players. So a lot of money. And now Patrick Davitt adds his second player, and it's a second catcher. Patrick has now bought just Ryan Jeffers and Daniel Jansen. He gets Daniel Jansen for $13. He had Jeffers earlier for $15. And those are the only players that Patrick has gotten so far. So it really does feel like Patrick Davitt is going to be spending a lot of his money trying to dominate the middle of this auction. Do you want to come say hi? My wife was just walking by. She apparently just want to come say hi to the stream. So everyone say hi to Danielle, my wife, for those who don't know. She is one of the reasons I get to come here because she's very supportive of me and Cowboys. So love you.
And I also like coming to New York. Hi, everybody. Have a
There
good
you
day.
go. So what have we missed? Let's see if there's anything we've missed. Shane Boz goes to Jeff Erikson for $11. I like that buy. I really like the rotation Jeff's making here. He's got Bailey Ober, he's got Spencer Arrighetti, and now he's got Shane Boz. A really interesting start to rotation, and not having spent over $20 on an individual pitcher yet. So far, he has spent a total of $40 on 3 pitchers. So I like that a lot. And it looks like we're now caught back up, unless I'm missing someone that was put on there. So we're about 45 minutes into the auction. So far, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Jeff Erikson, who's about to add another player as I'm speaking right now. Junior Caminaro. Okay, this was an interesting one. So I didn't know how much he was going to go for. $19. I'm actually a little surprised. I don't know if I would spend $19 on Junior Caminaro, but I'm a little surprised he's not more expensive. You got Jason Collette in the league, who's a big Rays guy. Junior Caminaro has been a big kind of hype guy in this spring because of what he did in the Dominican Summer League or Dominican Winter League. And then, just being a top tier prospect that's only 21 years old, going to be playing every day for the Rays, moving out to that, Steinbrenner Field spring training park where the Rays are going to play all their games, home games this year. Really interested to see him only go for $19. I really thought he would go for more, considering just how much hype has been around him kind of late in the draft season. We're seeing him start to move up into like the 5th, 6th rounds of like NFBC drafts. To see him only go to 19 here, knowing there's some Rays guys, there's some guys who really love prospects. Jeff Erikson, I think, getting a pretty good buy there for Junior Caminaro. Zach Neto for $17. Here's another guy who's gonna, who's discounted a little bit because he's gonna be starting the year most likely on the IL for the Angels. But I mean, he was money, and it seems like he's going to be okay, and his shoulder seems okay coming off of the offseason surgery. He's gonna run in Los Angeles, Ron Washington as their manager. It's just a matter of will that power all come back. He's the guy I picked up in TGFBI. So I like Neto. And I like Rob Leibowitz's team. Adley Rutschman, Alex Bregman. Oh, missed him. Marcus Simeon, Zach Neto, Julio Rodriguez, and Jose Barrios so far for Rob Leibowitz. And then we get another big helium guy so far this spring. And another guy that I love, Lawrence Butler, going to Rick and Glenn. $26. They add Lawrence Butler, who has just been one of the guys shooting up EDPs so far this spring. Really, really like that purchase, even with the kind of higher price. I feel like $26. When you're getting, Stephen Kwan at 23 and Victor Robles at 22, it's got to feel really good to get a Lawrence Butler at $26. Ian Kahn adds his first pitcher, Tanner Bybee, who I think is a perfect kind of pitcher for this format. He's young, still has some upside, but Tanner Bybee is one of those guys that feels like he has a really safe floor. You're going to get a good amount of innings from him. They're going to really stabilize ratios. And in a league this deep, I think Tanner Bybee is like the perfect guy to start off a rotation with. Getting him at $18, I love that buy by Ian Kahn. All right. Andy Andres getting another player. We got Cade Smith at $7. So it may just be a matter of with Andy Andres and his team where he goes, hey, I've spent all this money, $80, $84 on 3 starting pitchers. The way he's going to fill out the rest of his pitching staff may be a matter of like, hey, I'm going to buy some relievers who aren't necessarily closers that could become closers if something happens to the starting or to the closer ahead of him. So $7 for Cade Smith. That's a decent purchase. All right. So we got Doug Dennis adding Brian Wu to Max Fried. See, I'm not in love with this. Brian Wu is a guy who on a per inning basis is fantastic. But dude has had reoccurring elbow, forearm issues over the course of the last few years. It just feels a little bit like he's a ticking time bomb. Now you add Brian Wu, who feels like he has a lot of risk to that profile, to a guy like Max Fried, who I mentioned also has had some reoccurring elbow, forearm issues over the last few years. I don't like the combination to start with those two guys off my rotation. A combination I do like a lot is Framber Valdez that Chris Blessing got earlier for $23 with Joe Ryan at $17. I really like that combination. I much prefer that over the Max Fried, Brian Wu combination. And when you're considering the Framber Valdez, Joe Ryan combination is $3 more, that's great. I absolutely love that start for Chris Blessing. Chris Blessing putting together a really, really interesting, fun team. I'm really interested to see how he's going to kind of finish that out, as I think he spent the second most amount of money so far. Obviously Andy Andres spent the most, and Blessing has $121 left to spend, but he's already got 7 players. So, all right, let's. We're seeing Chris say he's out on Boz this year. Okay, with McClanahan willing to bite on Pepe at the right place. The rest scare me. You know what? I'm kind of staying away from all the Tampa Bay pitchers. I like Tampa Bay as a pitching organization. I just don't know how that park is going to play. And I'm a little bit afraid of that. So I don't know if there is any Tampa Bay pitcher that I would be that interested in this season. The same kind of goes for Oakland. Jeffrey Springs has been the only kind of exception for me on that. I just think he's such a good pitcher that I think he'll figure it out. But McClanahan coming off of Tommy John surgery, and a lot of the rest of that rotation. Pepio is the only one that kind of intrigues me in Tampa. Boz intrigues me a little bit too, but I've really just stayed away from all of those guys this year. I'm just a little bit scared of how that park is going to play. Being outdoors, being the Dimension Yankee Stadium in Florida with that humidity. I don't know. All right, let's see if we've had any other purchases. Looks like Mason Miller to Rafael Rab going right now, $22. Elite closer, just got to stay healthy, right? Was able to do it last year. Got to hope that he can do it again. He's got a long injury track record, but I like that purchase. $22, that doesn't feel too bad. It's kind of in between the Josh Hader and Emmanuel Clase price I think that's fair. I think that's probably exactly where he should be going. So I like that for Rafael Rapp. All right. Looking around, seeing if there's any other guys that we missed, or that have come off the board since I started ranting here a little bit. Doesn't look like it. Looks like we're about to get another purchase. Ronel Blanco from Jeff Erikson for $9. I just really like what Jeff Erikson's doing with this rotation. Bailey Ober at $17, Spencer Arrighetti at $12, Shane Boz at $11, and Ronel Blanco at $9. You know, he's got 4 pretty good starting pitchers right there. Really good start to his rotation, and hasn't spent more than $20 on any pitcher. I mean, he only spent $17 on Ober, $12 on Arrighetti, $11 on Boz, $9 on Blanco. I really like that. Like, that is a really good start to his rotation. And now he's still got a lot of money for this offense. So I really like what Jeff's doing here in this rotation. You know, maybe I wouldn't go for Blanco, maybe I wouldn't go for Shane Buns, but like just in general, the makeup of it is really, really strong. I like what he's doing. Speaking of liking what he's doing, Ian Kahn just had Paul Goldschmidt for $18. Moving to Yankee Stadium. It's kind of an interesting mix right here because Ian's a Yankees guy too, sitting right next to Rick and Glenn, who are both Yankees guys. So I wonder if we're going to get a Yankees bidding war. I wonder if that's how Paul Goldschmidt got to $18 was those two. But I really like Goldschmidt as a bounce back guy. I think that park is going to be really nice for him. It's going to be good for him to be back on kind of a winning ball club after just what seemed like a slog in all of St. Louis last year for the Cardinals. So I like Goldschmidt as a good bounce back guy here, and $18 doesn't feel too expensive for me. All right, looks like Jason Collette's going to add a player right here. He added Victor Caratini at some point. I missed that for $3. Vinny Pasquantino. So he goes Victor Caratini at $3, Vinny Pasquantino at $19. You know, I want to believe this is a year for Vinny P. I don't know though. Like, there's part of me that's like, are we still kind of paying a little bit for the hope on Vinny P? Like, he's been good when he's been on the field, but he's struggled with some injuries. I think this could be the year it all comes together for Vinny P, but I haven't pulled the trigger very much on him this year just because I don't know. And the price doesn't seem like it's gone down very much, considering. So I'm a big fan of Vinny P. My projections like Vinny P, but like I said, I just haven't been able to pull the trigger this year so far. But like that, Collette started Ohapi, Caratini, Vinny P, Stephen Kwan, Garrett Crochet, Hader, and George Kirby. So a good start for Jason. Doug Dennis adds Tristan Casas for $21. Again, it's on base percentage league, so that helps out Casas. A power hitting first baseman. I'm not as big of a fan on Casas because I have a hard time kind of figuring out who he is at this point in fantasy. Like, is he a guy who can actually make a lot of in zone contact, or is he just a guy who's going to swing and miss with a lot of power? So I think this is an interesting. There you go, Frank Stanfield up bright and early. I'm going to be competing against Frank Stanfield in the mixed auction here. Eric Halterman, we're running the stream for that, so be on the lookout for him. I'm sure I'll come in and talk about my team at some point with Eric. I'm going to try. I'll probably have him either stream it to the Tout Wars YouTube or to my YouTube, and then we'll put these videos on the Tout Wars YouTube. If you're not subscribed to the Tout Wars YouTube, make sure you are subscribed there. So I'm sure some of the streams will, or all of the streams videos will end up there at some point, but some of the streams as well, I'm sure will end up there. But we're able to get it over there this morning, so that's why we're streaming it to my YouTube instead. But always good to hang out with Frank. Got to see him last night, and a lot of people in Tout Wars just hanging out, having a good time. No, Frank, Paul's not here. Paul didn't leave his house. Paul's just sitting at home. You know, maybe next year we'll get Paul out here. All right. Isaac Paredes goes the Andy Andres, who spun another player at $19. I actually really like this purchase. I think this is really smart. It's going to be a great part change for Isaac Paredes. The only issue is Andy's going to be running out of money here soon. He's only bought 8 players. He has $64 left to spend. for his remaining 15 players. That's going to be a problem here at some point. So interesting to see how he kind of fills out his rotation. Rob Leibowitz adds Pablo Lopez, $19. I feel like the starting pitching prices have really started to come down. Tariq Skubal goes for $34. Logan Gilbert goes for $28. But then most of the pitchers, well, I guess Garrett Crochet for $27, but most of the starting pitchers now are kind of settling in this $15 to $20 range. I love that bucket as Kevin Gausman goes to Larry Schechter. Really like what Schechter is doing here. Bryce Miller at the top of his rotation for $18. Seth Luger for $14. Kevin Gausman for $15. Manuel Clase for $23. A really, really strong start to Larry Schechter's rotation here as we're about an hour into the auction. Things are moving fairly well, and they always do with Brian Feldman as the auctioneer. Brian Feldman, the best in the business in auctioneering. So always great to see him as well. And he will be in my auction as a participant. Is he in my auction as a participant? I can't remember. I know he's in my labor one, so maybe he's not in my top one too. Speaking of starting pitchers, added Taj Bradley to Chris Blessing for $11. So he goes for Framber Valdez at 23, Joe Ryan at 17, and now Taj Bradley at $11. So in a little bit here, maybe Patrick Davitt can give Andy a loan. Yeah, because Patrick Davitt so far only bought 2 players, 2 catchers, and that is it. Carlos Rodon now to Ian Kahn for $13. So you got kind of the safety and floor from Tanner Bybee, and you go for a little bit of a gamble on upside. Carlos Rodon plus a Yankee, which we know that Ian's going to love. So good start to Ian's team. He's got Paul Goldschmidt, Bobby Witt Jr., Mike Trout, Tanner Bybee, and Carlos Rodon with $84 left, with $145 left to spend on 18 players. So good start there for Ian. And like I mentioned before, Ian has been in the NL League for the last 3 years. And now he's moving over to the AL after winning 2 out of the last 3 years in the NL. I don't know why. I believe that Sirius is going to be kind of checking in and calling into players and kind of covering it that way, but they are not covering it fully, which gave me the opportunity to cover it fully. So I'm glad all of you are sitting around watching me talk about this as opposed to Sirius, since they're not covering it this year, unfortunately. So yeah, but apparently Paul's busy or something like that. He's got work or something, Someone's got to hold down the home for it. All right, looks like Doug Dennis is about to add another player. $24 on Devin Williams. Definitely not doing the all reliever and all cheap reliever strategy this year. Doug Dennis going back to a more traditional strategy, but spending more on pitching than I think I've ever seen Doug Dennis spend. So really interesting. He's got Max Fried, Brian Wu, and Devin Williams. And he's already spent, what is that? It's $61 on his pitching staff. Typically, Doug, even when he doesn't do the all kind of reliever strategy, will do much cheaper pitching. And so usually spending around $40 to $50 on his pitching staff. And this year, not so much. He's going a little bit more expensive on those pitching staff. And another great purchase here from Jeff Erikson. Jeff Erikson adds Reese Olson for $9. Absolutely love what Erikson is doing here in this pitching staff. Bailey Ober at 17, Spencer Getty at 12, $11 for Shane Baz, and then Ronald Blanco and Reese Olson for $9 each. This just feels like the type of rotation that can dominate in AL only. I really, really love what he's doing. And Chris Blessing now adds his 4th outfielder. So Chris has already filled up his entire outfield. Victor Robles at 22, Jason Dominguez at 18, Kyle Isbell at 6, and now Wyatt Langford at 27. Langford being one of the huge risers in the EDP right now that we're seeing. going in, the second and third round of main event drafts. It seems crazy to me he's going as high as he is, considering, we don't know if he's going to take another step. I think a lot of people are projecting him to take another step. He absolutely could be a monster, a first-round pick moving forward. But it just feels like everybody's kind of betting on the come right now with Wyatt Langford, as opposed to kind of, purchasing the guy that they saw last year. Everybody's expecting that step. I don't know if I'm able to do that. Hunter Brown goes for $20 to Rick and Glenn. That's a pretty solid purchase, kind of starting off their rotation. They did get Jackson Jobe for $4 earlier, but I don't know that Jobe is going to be in the rotation unless news is broken this weekend that I haven't seen. Oh, shocker of the auction, Andy Andres just got another high-priced player, $27 on Brett Rooker. This is another guy who's shooting up draft boards. People really loving what Brent Rooker did last year and the changes that he's made over the last few seasons in Oakland, and now going to Sacramento, where they're going to have that smaller stadium, that minor league stadium they're going to play in. They're going to play in that Sacramento Heat. Really, really interesting buy. But all of a sudden, Andy Andres still has 14 players to get. He's got $37 left to get them. So it's going to be very, very quickly. And Andy Andres maybe come in here and join me and talk as opposed to bidding, because he won't have any money to bid on anybody here very quickly. Jason Collette adds an accumulator type that is pretty great for a league like this. $11 on JP Crawford. He's nothing special. He's just going to kind of give you plate appearances, but you get a fair amount of them. $11 on JP Crawford, a pretty decent buy there for Jason Collette. I think the only thing I wonder about with Jason's team so far is, will he have enough power? You've got JP Crawford doesn't have a lot of power. You've got Victor Carantini doesn't have very much power. You've got Stephen Kwan who doesn't have very much power. Where's the power going to come from Jason Collette? You've got decent start on speed with, Kwan give you some stolen bases. Crawford will chip in a few, but maybe even not enough speed. Like speed and power might be an issue here for Jason. So I'll be interested to see as he starts filling out his team more and more, like what he's going to do in that regard. Patrick Davitt adds his third player. Again, it seems like he's going to try to play the middle game here. So he may start getting some more players here. Byron Bucks and $14. Not a guy low for this format. Guys who can't rack up plate appearances because they're hurt consistently. That feels a little bit risky, even at $14, which is an expensive price. This seems like, you want guys who are going to play, going to accumulate. And Buxton's just one of those guys. He's only had one season over, I think, 500 plate appearances in his career, and it was a while ago. So I don't know if I love that Byron Buxton price, even if it is only $14. All right, kind of just looking through the board right now to see if there's anybody who stands out as someone I missed talking about. Jock Peterson to Larry Schechter for $16. I like that purchase. That feels like a pretty good buy right there from Larry Schechter. Again, Larry just putting together kind of a solidly unspectacular team, but those are the ones that kind of win these kind of leagues. And Peterson's going to hit on the strong side of the platoon in the middle of that lineup. Yeah, I like that pick. There we go. Another pick I love right here is Zach Eflin at $12. So, and that goes to Rick and Glenn, Colton the Wolfman. I love that pick. Zach Eflin at $12. Again, another one of those guys who can volume. I think he's a little bit underrated. I know he was down a little bit last year, but I think he got a little bit unlucky. He's on a good team in a good pitching park. Yeah, Zach Eflin, $12 was like one of my favorite buys of the day so far. Rob Leibowitz adding to his kind of stars and scrubbiness of the team, adding Christian Walker to for $21. Christian Walker moving to that Houston park with a short porch in left field is a perfect kind of fit for his swing. I like that purchase. $21. He's got a very expensive infield, Rob Leibowitz does. He's got Christian Walker at $21. He's got Alex Bregman at $24, Marcus Semien at $21, and Zach Neto at $17. And then his only outfielder is $41 for Julio Rodriguez. He's got $83 left to spend on 15 players. He's not in Andy Andres territory yet, but he is of money. Speaking of a ton of money, Mike Podhorzer bought Yordan Alvarez early on and has not bought another player since. So Mike is clearly, after getting Yordan early, is clearly looking to play in the middle of this auction. So I'll be interested to see where he goes from there. Chris Blessing adds a $21 Andres Munoz, getting one of those elite closers and kind of locking down saves. $21, fine. Class A was 23, Hader was 21. We saw Mason Miller go for 22. That seems like the going rate for the upper tier closers. And I assume like Johan Duran actually, I think Devin Williams already got bought. Maybe he didn't. Maybe Devin Williams did go. He went $24 earlier. So it just seems like that is just a standard price so far for some of these closers. Yeah, and see, this is the fear of like when you're playing the middle game. Like if you're letting other people go stars and scrubbies, so you can try to dominate in the middle. If there's too many other people who are going to do the same, you may not get the discounts you're looking for in those middle. And I know this because this is usually how I end up playing. I'll be interested to see if that is kind of where the prices are in my auction, because it feels like my auction later on today, we have a lot of guys trying to play in the middle. So I may go a little bit more stars and scrubbies than I usually do. All right, so I think Royce Lewis, $18. I mean, I love Royce Lewis, but in an AL only league, that is a bit more risky considering Royce Lewis's history of injuries. So Doug Dennis gets a player that I like, generally speaking, but maybe not as much for this format as other people. Mike Podhorzer now adds his second player up, starting pitcher Shane McClanahan. Again, just not a guy I love, especially for this format. And guy that I'm kind of staying away from, just generally speaking, coming off of Tommy John. I know he's had a lot or a longer layoff and recovery period from it than other guys, but I just don't trust guys coming back from Tommy John in their first full season. And now he's moving out of the comfy confines of Tampa Bay's Dome Stadium into Steinbrenner Field, a spring training park. The combination of all that, I'm staying away. $17 isn't that expensive in the grand scheme of things, and maybe this turns out to be a great purchase for Podhorzer, but I'm staying away from that kind of purchase. Jason Collette adds Dylan Moore for $12. So Dylan Moore is not very good at baseball, but he is going to play every single day. He is quadruple eligible in this format, eligible at second, third, short, and the outfield. So as much as I don't think Dylan Moore is a very good player, he's really valuable in this deep of a format because he can move around your roster so much and really, really help you out if you suffers any injuries. $12 feels like a lot, but it's really not for that kind of flexibility. So really good buy there from Jason Collette. All right. I'm going to talk for probably another 10 to 15 minutes, and then what I'll do is I will go and kind of set up in the auction room itself and kind of give you guys a live feed of the auction itself for a while. Now Podhorzer is starting to add players. He has Randy Arozarena for $24. I haven't been in on Randy this year. This is the first year I'm not in on Randy, so maybe Randy has a massive rebound just because I haven't been a believer this year. But just worry about the kind of the gradual skill decline we've seen year after year after year. Now he's in Seattle, which isn't a great home park to hit in, and that team around him is just kind of anemic. But $24, it's not a bad price. And like I said earlier, you cannot compare prices even within the auction to each other, right? Because you just got, guys who come out earlier versus the middle versus later is just a completely different auction dynamic. But Rick and Glenn got Williams Butler for $26 not that long ago, and now you're spending $24 on Arozarena. I much would have rather spent a little bit more to get Williams Butler. Ian Kahn adds his third pitcher, his third starter, and Nathan Eovaldi, $13. That feels like just a really, really solid buy. I'm really feeling like these kind of, team starting pitchers that people are getting. Zach Eflin at 12, Nathan Eovaldi at 13, Coach Renan at 13, Pablo Lopez at 19, Jose Barrios at 12. Pretty much all of Jeff Erikson's pitching staff. Ober at 17. Arrighetti at 12. Boz at 11. Ronald Blanco at 9. And Reese Olson. I feel like the starting pitching prices, especially after you got past that first tier of guys, has been really, really well priced, and really where I would love to live in this auction if I was in it. Podhorzer goes from only one player a few minutes ago to now 4 players. He adds another outfielder, Luis Robert, for $21. Kind of a boomer bust guy, right? Like we've seen a lot of injuries from Robert over the course of the last few seasons. We have also seen some skills degradation. But how much is that related to the injuries, right? Is he healthy now? And if he's healthy, does like kind of the skills kind of come back that we've seen in the past? We've seen him kind of drop year after year the last few years in terms of his ability to make contact in the zone. Does that rebound with him rebounding? Can he get out of Chicago, which just seems like a terrible place to be? And, I wouldn't want to swing at anything either, at least or not make contact with anything if I was stuck in Chicago with the White Sox. So maybe just getting traded will be good for him. It'd be interesting to see. It's an interesting purchase, a real upside purchase for Mike Podhorzer, who is playing kind of the middle game here right now. We see Larry Schechter, another guy who's known for the middle game, but has been a little bit more aggressive in this auction than I think we're used to seeing. I guess Adolis Garcia for $17. Love that purchase, right? Now, he was dealing with an oblique issue kind of early on in spring. It seems like he's going to be ready for the start of the season. I think Texas is just going to bounce back as a team. I think they had a World Series hangover, and that this team is going to be better as a whole in 2025. So I really like that $17 purchase on Adolis Garcia. Looks like we're going to be adding another player, another Podhorzer player potentially. As we're waiting to see the board updated, but I see the cursor moving over to his pitching staff. Oh, and now it's gone. And now it's back. So do we have another player to add? We do. Mike Podhorzer gets Yusei Kikuchi for $12. I like that purchase. I'm not a big Kikuchi guy. I have been in the past, and I feel like I had Charlie Brown kicking the football on him. But you get a lot of volume, a lot of strikeouts. And if you can keep kind of the gains we saw from him last year, especially in the second half, he could be a dynamic player at $12. I really like that person. Like I said, I like a lot of these kind of team-ish dollar spends on pitching right now. This is exactly where I'd be building my rotation, with like a $14 Kirby and a $12 Kikuchi, an $18 Bryce Miller, and $19 Pablo Lopez. These team pitching prices have been really, really nice after some early pitchers went fairly expensively. Looks like Jason Collette is adding a player. He's added Jorge Soler for $22. So I was just saying that there was a little bit of question of like, what is Jason going to do with the power? There he goes and addresses that situation fairly quickly. He added some speed in Dylan Moore, and now he's added some power in Jorge Soler. I like that purchase a lot. How much? Now the question is, does he have enough on base percentage to counteract maybe like a Dylan Moore and a Jorge Soler? But Jason Collette doing a pretty good job here. So far, he has 10 players. He's got Logan O'Hoppe, Victor Carantini, Vinny Pasquantino, Dylan Moore, J.B. Crawford, Stephen Kwan, Jorge Soler, Garrett Crochet, Josh Hader, and George Kirby. So he needs 13 more players with $89 to spend. He's in a pretty good spot here. I like what Jason's been doing here. Patrick Davitt finally adds another player. He adds a $22 Johan Duran. Patrick clearly on a Twins theme this year. He has 3 of his 4 players so far are Twins. Ryan Jeffers at $15, Byron Buxton at $14, and Johan Duran at $22. So like I said before, we're seeing kind of these upper tier closers kind of in that low 20s, early teens. And now Chris Blessing adds another outfielder. He had already gotten all 4 of his outfielders. He goes and adds a 5th to throw him in his utility spot. Colton Cowser, $24. I'm a big Colton Cowser guy, right? Cowser just is such a good defensive player that he's going to continue to play. He's got power. He's got a little bit of speed hidden in the middle of this Orioles lineup that should be getting better. $24 for Colton Cowser. I don't mind that at all. I will say that maybe I'd rather have a $26 Lawrence Butler. But again, you can't really compare those auction dynamics. And I might even rather have a $17 Adolis Garcia, but I really can't compare that. Oh, Patrick Davitt has another player. So he's starting to pick up, starting to spend some money. And he has another top-tier closer in Felix Bautista. So Patrick Davitt only has 2 pitchers so far, and they're both top-tier closers. It'd be interesting to see, does Patrick go for the all-reliever strategy with Doug not doing it this year? So really interesting to see if maybe someone else tries to adopt the strategy we saw from Doug a few years ago. Ian Kahn adds his first catcher, just a $3 Travis d'Arnaud. Hey, I don't mind that. When you're playing in a 12-team AL league with 2 catching spots, you need kind of some of those catchers who, aren't going to necessarily play all the time, but can give you good value when they do play. I think that is d'Arnaud in Los Angeles, especially with Logan Hockey's injury history. Like, d'Arnaud could find himself in more playing time. He could also DH a little bit too. So. And now Ian Kahn's about to add a second catcher, which is Mitch Garver. He's going to do the exact same thing. Going to get that cheap catcher. He spends a total of $10 on 2 catchers. Mitch Garver for $7, Travis d'Arnaud for $3. There you go. That sometimes it's how you play it. I prefer to go a little bit more expensive for my catchers in only leagues, just because I think the value difference really, really drops off at the catcher position. And some of the guys you're going to get in the lower tiers of the catching pool in only leagues are going to actively hurt your team. So, but Ian goes with a $10 spend on $10 total spend on 2 guys, $3 on d'Arnaud and $7 on Mitch Garver, and kind of back-to-back guys. So, very interesting, like what Ian is doing here. All right. So we are about an hour and 20 minutes in. We got another player coming on the board here, Yandy Diaz, to Rick and Glenn for $20. Yandy's like one of those perfect kind of guys for this. He's going to be high OBP guy, giving you a little bit of power, but he's going to play quite a bit. Kind of a boring accumulator type in this format are perfect. So $20 on Yandy Diaz, I think is a really nice buy from Rick and Glenn. And I like what they're doing overall. Maybe they have a little bit more risk on their team that I would like. In guys like, Jazz Chisholm, but overall, really, really like Rick and Glenn started in there, a multi-time winner of this league. So I have no problem with their build. Jeff Erikson, maybe adding someone here. He's adding another pitcher. He already has 5 pitchers. He's adding his first relief pitcher, Jeff Hoffman, at $18. So I really love what Jeff did with his starting rotation. Talked about it a lot already then. Bailey Ober, Spencer Arrighetti, Shane Baez, Ronald Blanco, Reese Olson hasn't spent more than $17 on a starting pitcher so far. Now he adds an $18 Jeff Hoffman. I don't love that. I'm really afraid of Hoffman this year. And maybe it was a matter of Jeff wanted to add a closer, but wasn't willing to spend up a little bit more to get one of the upper tier guys. So he takes a gamble on kind of a second tier guy. I just worry about the fact that Hoffman had, 2 deals kind of negated by physicals and then signs a deal in Toronto. I worry about that. Maybe Jeff decides he will pick up like a Chad Green towards the end of the auction or Yimi Garcia to kind of handcuff that situation. But I'm a little bit worried about Hoffman, just a guy I've been staying away from in draft season so far this year. So here's the thing. Oh, no, what happened? I apologize. All right, I don't think I messed anything up for you guys, but I'm not super worried about. Anybody leaving money on the table as of yet. There's plenty of time. There's a lot of players going to still come out, and I think guys like Patrick and Podhorzer are going to kind of dominate some of these middle guys here pretty soon. But I wouldn't be too worried right now about leaving money on the table. There's still way too much of the auction left. Patrick may just clean up here in a little bit in terms of picking up players. So, all right. So let's see if there's any guys that I've missed so far. It looks like they're going on their first break, so I may try and get someone to come in and talk to me here, and see if they want to come in and talk to me about their team. So give me 1 sec as I try to flag someone down from the hallway, like Mr. Jason Collette. Jason, why don't you come in and talk to the stream real quick?
What's up, dudes?
Grab a chair.
Grab a chair, grab a mic.
Yeah,
Did these work? What's up, folks? I can't see everybody. Left my
All right.
glasses in the other room.
that's all right. So talk to us about your start. You started off so far with 2 catchers. You got Logan Mohapi at 19, Victor
Correct.
Carantini at $3,
Yep.
Vinny P at $19, Dylan Moore at 12, JP Crawford at 11, Stephen Kwan at 23, Jorge Soler at 22, and then your pitching staff is Crochet, Peter, and Kirby. Gotta say, love your start.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I was surprised. Crochet, I had valued at 28. So when he was at 26, I'm like, let me go a little higher. Kirby, I almost had him at $12, which I really would have loved. But somebody said 13, so I had to go 14, and I'll take the risk. There, Hater, if you notice, look at the board, how many of these closers are going 20 plus. So I figured I'll just keep bidding 20 and see. Munoz was who I would have ideally liked, but he went for the same price. So that's what it's cost to get closers in this one. And the other hitting prices have been high. There's a couple of teams that are pushing those prices up. Did I want to pay $23 for Stephen Kwan? No. But when everybody else is going $3 to $5 above, you have to adjust, or you're going to be left holding the bag. And I don't want to be coming out. I never want to be that team having all that money going into the first break. So I have decided to spend it around and look for the bargains. I found Pasquantino came at a bit of a discount, which was nice. I did have a 2-catcher strategy coming in here. I wanted to get two starters, but some of the other prices of the second guys I would target was a little high. So then I went with the best backup. I figure in Caratini and go that direction. So that's where I went. Happy so far, and I've still got some things to do. But and then Dylan Moore in the room. Jeff was asking me to explain it, and I wrote this in a recent article. Once Dan Wilson took over the Mariners, they ran a lot, and that's Dylan Moore's second best quality. His best quality is he went to UCF like me. So we're great people, but that's where the Dylan Moore strategy and JP Crawford on a bounce back. With things. So he has OBP shops. Dylan Moore obviously is a little easier to roster in an OBP league, and the fact that he carries 4 positions means he'll be on the field.
The 4 positions is huge, especially in the league this deep.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it the entire time. There is not anybody on the waiver wire. So it's not like when you have an injury, you can really replace someone. So having someone like Dylan Moore, you can play 4 different positions, is massive for your team.
Yeah, it's the avoid Taylor Walls. That's you have the Mendoza line for hitting. You have the avoid Taylor Walls. I got to pick him up because he plays type of situation. I said that as a race fan.
Anybody in the auction with you that you're going, whoa, I didn't expect him to do this?
Andy Andres. When you do labor with Andy Andres and he spends $35 on all of his pitching, and then he comes in here and spends $84 on 3 pitchers. He did a little bit of this last year, but the fact that he's put that and then he spent $7 on Cam Smith, I pushed him up to that to see where he was going to go. Because at that point, I love Cam Smith. He was in a budget of like 6. I have a particular roster. Kate Smith. Sorry. Yeah, Kate Smith. Now that we have 2 Smiths, it's weird.
Yeah.
So Kate Smith. And I had him in a spot where I was like, I'm looking for a $6 pitching slot. So I said 6, and then he went 7, and I was fine getting out of that. But I was curious when Andy spent that money that he did on the other guys. It's like, okay, what is he going to do for relief? And so I figured he was going to chase guys like that. I figured Griffin Jacks is going to be somebody else he's going to put out there. If he doesn't, I'm going to nominate Griffin Jacks for the first guy when he gets back to me in the room.
There you go. Well, I'm really impressed by your team so far. I'm interested to see how you're going to finish it out. I was saying at one point, I was like, oh, I think Jason needs a little power and a little speed. And then you took Dylan Moore in Jorge Soler. I was like, okay, well, he just addressed both those issues.
Yeah, and the Soler thing, I was hoping to get it closer to 18 to 20. Had to go 22 because Rick and Glenn, their whole thing is just having fun with me and plus wanting me and taunting me with rings and everything. So it's but Soler has been somebody I've been actively targeting. They know it, whatever. I feel he's going to be in for a huge year as they walk by. So, folks who are watching, thanks for listening. What's up, Yancey? I know you're in there, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you so much for coming to talk to us. All right. So, and hopefully I'll be able to grab more people as they walk by and stuff like that. If there's anybody in particular you guys want to hear from, I can try to go pull them from the room real quick. But yeah, it's been a really fun, interesting draft to see kind of what people are doing here. And we've definitely got a varying level of strategies, right? Kind of moving forward. You've got the, people playing the middle like Patrick Davitt and Mike Podhorzer. You've got people who are playing very much more stars and scrub like Andy Andres and Rob Leibowitz. It's seeing who can pull this off to the best of their ability. It's a little bit more risky to play in the middle, but you can get a lot more deals that way. So it'll be interesting to see how guys like Patrick Davitt and Mike Podhorzer kind of manage the rest of their auction with as much money as they have left. Patrick Davitt has $176 left with 18 players to buy. Podhorzer has still the same 18 players to buy, $146. So some people with a lot of money, some people with very little money. Chris Blessing only has $38 to spend. Andy Andres only has $37 left to spend. So we've got a lot of money off the table from those guys. And so they're going to be kind of chilling probably here for a little bit. Rob Leibowitz only has $83 to spend with 15 players. Jason Collette, who was just here talking to us, $89 with 13 players to buy. So kind of seeing a lot of different strategies play out here early on in AL Tout Wars. We'd love to hear from Colton and Wolfman or Con if possible. Hold on one moment. Let me see if I can grab one of them to come in and talk to us, okay? I'll be right back. Talk to the street real quick. If you guys not yet.
Thank you.
All right, so I just kind of flagged down Rick Wolf and see if he can come in and talk to us briefly before the next round of bidding starts here. Yeah, if I can grab Jeff Erikson too, I will, because he has been putting together that awesome pitching staff that I really, really love. Really interesting pitching staff from Jeff Erikson, but also really love kind of what Rick and Glenn have been doing. I'm interested to talk to them kind of about how they're going to approach things. They've got a little bit of risk, but also some really fun players to watch, and they are one of the most successful teams of drafters in these industry leagues, Tout and Labor. So interested to see what Rick wants to come do here in a little bit with the rest of this auction. They have $103 left to spend on 15 players. So definitely. Oh, we got Mr. Ian Kahn.
I think are they calling us back in now? What time is it?
Okay.
Just real quick, we got Ian Kahn here. Ian, you have started off with 2 catchers, really liked it. Cheaper catchers, $10.
The room was hot
Yeah.
for catchers.
But you got Bobby Witt Jr. at $42.
That was kind of interesting.
Right? I love that.
Yeah.
Mike Trout, it's a risk,
I know,
but it could pay off huge
if he plays,
if
he stays healthy in OBP, I was actually protecting in TGFBI not drafting him just in case people would know how much I wanted Mike Trout.
No,
it's really
I
true.
love the start of your rotation. Tanner Bybee feels like the perfect guy to start your rotation in AL only. You've got some upside in his youth, but also just feels like a really, really safe floor. Carlos Rodon's got some upside.
I just like the prices.
Right.
I wasn't sure about Eovaldi just because I already had.
$30 feels fine.
No, the value is fine. I just didn't. I'm looking right now. It's solid. I like Goldschmidt. We'll see what he does.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got out of that catcher problem. It felt like that room for catchers
It was really,
was
really high,
nuts. So
which
I
like the more expensive catchers, but I like what you did too.
Yeah, I got cheap.
$10 on
$10 for
guys.
2 guys. It tends to be what I do.
Good luck rest of the way.
Thanks, Bob. Good to see
Great
you.
seeing you. And then we're just rotating people in. We got Rick here. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing as many as I can these once twice.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, of course.
I love-
happily married for 40 years, so I'm just joking.
Love the start of your rotation. Jackson Joke $4 is a really interesting gamble upside early throw out.
Super early, yes.
So were you guys the ones who threw him out?
No, we didn't throw him out, but he's somebody we drafted in AL Labor, and just a guy that we think has upside, and that's important to get those cheap upside guys. When I say cheap, under 5.
Yep.
So he's right there.
And then
maybe
Hunter
later in the
Brown-
draft he goes for 2, but whatever.
Hunter Brown, Zach Eflin, I feel like are a great start to a rotation.
Yeah, it's a good start. So, like, we're all about the strategy, right? So the strategy is usually, get a closer, get an anchor, and then fill in everything else, right, for pitching it. And then move most of the money towards hitting. It's basically the smart system for the last 20 plus years. So we specifically targeted to change this year to say, we're going to get 2 guys, and we only got 1 so far, but 2 guys, and then the third at 10 or so, Eflin 10 plus or minus 2. But Hunter Brown was specifically that guy. Like, we're going to get Hunter Brown. I already have future bets on him to be Cy Young this year. The last 5 months last year were crazy, and as you got later in the season, it got even better. And if you look at spin rates and all those kind of fancy metrics and stuff, he's the guy.
Yeah.
Right? Or Cole Reagans. I think those Cole Reagans went for 23. If he had gone for 21, those would have been the 2.
Nice.
Right.
Okay.
But we just got outbid there, and we were like, then we're not going to be able to get Brown. Right. So Brown was the man, and that was it.
All right, I got one question to ask you about your offense. I love Cody Bellinger, love Lawrence Butler. Jazz Chisholm seems like a risky proposition in an only league where you don't have replacement value on the waiver wire. Was that someone you had targeted coming in? Is like, hey, the upside's too great on him?
No, look, we're from here, right?
Yeah.
So we're here in the narrative. So, and I'm a Met fan. We're in the hat, right? But the narrative is the jovialness and the comfortableness in the locker room with him. I mean, he told Judge and him have a bet that he's going to have more home runs than him. So, like, he bet Judge, I'm going to hit more home runs than you. And he's swinging for the jet stream. The jet stream is real. That's why Bellinger's going to be good. By the way, Goldschmidt last year, 28 extra base hits to the opposite field direction. He's going to jet stream all day too. Those 3 guys are going to hit a lot of home runs, a lot more than you probably think. So, and he's going to bat in a good spot in the lineup, probably 5. So it's just a good spot for him. And he runs. He said he's going to have 50 stolen bases. He's like this braggadocious guy who's fun to watch.
He's really fun to watch. It'll be fun to root for him, team. Thank you so much for joining me.
All right, keep being great.
I'll try my best. Yep. All right, so we got a few guys to come in and talk to us, and hopefully we'll have at least, I think, 2 more breaks rest of the way. So I'll try to get some other people in here to talk to us as we continue to move on here through this auction. Looks like we're going to be starting back up here again shortly. We're about an hour and a half into this auction and doing good work. So what I'm going to do is I will, during once they start back up again, I'm going to sneak back in and I'm going to set up the laptop in the stream within viewing distance of the auction itself. So that way you guys can kind of watch the actual auction as it's going on. And that'll give me a chance to go take a short break as things are kind of going on. You guys can watch that for a little bit. And they are starting the auction back up again. It looks like Jason Klett getting the first player off board. Cam Smith, he had a little, little speaking slip up when he said Cam Smith earlier. Maybe he had Cam Smith on his mind. So why don't we go sneak in to the auction, and we will watch the auction as it goes in there for AL Tout Wars auction. And then that'll give me a chance while you guys are watching that to sneak out and go take a short break. So I'm going to go quiet as we move into the auction.
Great. 23, Podhorser. That's Riley Green at 23. 23 to Podhorser, 23 on Riley Green once, 23 on Riley Green twice, 23 on Riley Green, sold. Mike Podhorser picks up Riley Green at 23. 23.
Cam Smith was 3.
But he's 5 and you put him on the infield spot.
You want him in the infield spot?
Yeah. Riley Green.
Ricky Black.
Anthony Santander for 6.
Anthony Santander, $6.
15.
15, says Ian Kahn. 16, says Andy. Santander at 16. 17 from Ian. 18 from Rob. Santander at 18. 18 on Santander once. 19 from Schechter. That's 19 on Anthony Santander. 19 going once. 19 going twice. 19 sold. Anthony Santander, $19 to Larry Schechter. Ian's up.
Anthony Volpe, $3.
Anthony Volpe, $3. Four from Chris, 5 from Ian. Volpe, 6. 11 from Ian, 12 from Ian.
14.
14 from Ian. 14 from Ian. 15 from Colton Wolf. 16 from Ian. Anthony Volpe at 16. 16 going once. 17 from Andy. Anthony Volpe at 17. 17 going once. 17 going twice. 17 sold. Anthony Volpe. 17 on Andy Andrus.
He'll be calling you.
Yeah. You'll be getting a call in 5 minutes. You'll be getting a call at 1 o'clock. All right, Anthony Volpe at 17. And Rob.
Jack Flaherty for a buck.
Jack Flaherty for $1.
2.
2 from Colton Wolf.
3.
3 from Ian Kahn. Flaherty at 3. 4 from Colton Wolf. 5 from Leor. 6 from Ian. That's $6 on Jack Flaherty. 7 from Leor. That's Jack Flaherty at 7. $8, says Ian. We're at $8 on Jack Flaherty, $9 from Mike Podhorzer, 10 from Ian. That's Flaherty at 10. 11 from Podhorzer. 12 from Leor. Flaherty at 12. Jack Flaherty at 12 going once. 13 from Mike. 13 on Flaherty. Flaherty at 13 going once. Flaherty at 13 going twice. Flaherty at 13 goes to Mike Podhorzer. Patrick.
Andres Jimenez for $1.
Andres Jimenez for $1. Andres Jimenez, $5 from Chris. $7 from Jeff. Andres Jimenez at $7. $9 from Ian. 11 from Jeff. 12 from Jason. Andres Jimenez at 12. 13 from Jeff. 14 from Ian. 15 from Jason. That's 16 from Ian. Jimenez at 16. Jimenez at 16 going once. At 6. Did I hear 17? Yep, 17 from Patrick. We've got 17 on Andres Jimenez. 17 once. 17 twice. 17 sold. Andres Jimenez, $17 to Patrick Gavin.
Cedric Mullins, 8.
Cedric Mullins, opening bid is 8. 11 from Jeff. Mullins at 11. 12 from Doug. 13 from Jeff. Mullins at 13. 14 from Doug. 15 from Jeff. 16 from Ian. Cedric Mullins at 16 to Ian Kahn. Mullins at 16 going once. 17 from Rob Leibowitz. 17 on Cedric Mullins. 18 from Doug. Mullins at 18. 18 going once. 19 from Rob. 20 from Doug. 20 from Doug going once. Going twice. And sold. Cedric Mullins. $20 to Doug Dennis. And Doug is up, right?
Josh Lowe for 11.
Josh Lowe, currently at 11. Sorry.
12.
12 from Jeff. Josh Lowe at 13. Josh Lowe at 13. 14 from Rob.
15.
15. 15 from Jason. That's Josh Lowe at 15. Lowe at 15 going 16 from Rob. 17 from Mike. Josh Lowe at 17. Lowe at 18 from Rob. That's Josh Lowe at 18. 19 from Mike. That's 19 on Josh Lowe. 19 going once. 19 going twice. 20 from Rob. You got $20 on Josh Lowe. $20 going once. $20 going twice. $20 sold. Josh Lowe. $20 to Rob Leibowitz. Chris.
$1, Jonathan Aranda.
Jonathan Aranda for $1. $2 Colton Wolf. 7 from Erikson. Jonathan Aranda at 7. 8 from Chris. 9 from Jeff. Aranda at 9. 10 from Chris. 11 from Jeff. That's Aranda at 11. $11 Jonathan Aranda. 12 from Chris. 13 from Jeff. Aranda at 13. 13 going once. 13 going twice. 13 sold. Jonathan Aranda. $13 to Jeff Erikson. Erikson.
Jake Berger for 11.
Jake Berger for 11.
12.
12 from Ian.
13.
13 from Chris,
14.
14 Ian, 15 Jason, Jake Berger at 15. Berger at 15 going once, 16 from Chris,
17.
17 from Jason. That's Jake Berger at 17. 17 going once.
Jason has an 18.
I'm 18. It's on to 18?
Yeah.
Colton Wolf at 18 on Jake Berger. 18 on Berger, 18 once. 18 twice. 18 sold. Jake Berger goes 18 to Colton Wolf.
It's an inch.
That was Jeff, right?
It was.
Larry.
Richie Palacios for 2.
Richie Palacios, $2. Palacios at 2. $3 from Doug. Richie Palacios, $3. $4. 5 from Doug. 6 from Jason. 7 from Doug. Palacios at 7. $7 going once. $8 from was it Larry. Richie Palacios at 8. $8 once. $9 from Doug. Palacios at 9. $9 going once. $9 going twice. $9 sold. Richie Palacios, $9 to Doug Dennis. Jason is up.
Pete Fairbanks, $8.
Peter Fairbanks for $1. I'm sorry, $8. 9 for Colton Wolf. Fairbanks at 9. Fairbanks at 9 to Colton Wolf. 10 from Ian Kahn. That's $10 on Pete Fairbanks. 11 from Rob. Fairbanks at 11. $11 going once. $11 going twice. $11 sold. Pete Fairbanks. $11 to Rob Leibowitz. New round with Mike.
Christian Campbell from
Christian Campbell, $2 says Andy. Christian Campbell, $2. 5 says Jeff Erikson. That's $5 on Christian Campbell. $5 going once. 6 from Rob. Christian Campbell at 6. $6 going once. 6. Well, excuse me. It said $7. $7 on Christian Campbell. $7 on Campbell. $7 going once. $7 going twice. And that's the foghorn sold. Christian Campbell. $7 to Jeff Erikson.
Jeff, did you get
Educated, intelligent. It's the onions. Okay.
Where's that close?
Leroy.
Everything bad.
That's what that was. George Springer, $5.
This is coming along really well on the live stream, isn't it? All right, I'm sorry, once again.
George Springer, $5.
George Springer for 5. 10 from Doug Dennis. 11. 12 from Ian. 13 from Jeff. That's George Springer at 13. 14 Doug. 15 Ian. 15 Ian on George Springer. Springer at 15. Springer at 15 going once. Springer at 15 going twice. 16 from Potters. That's George Springer at 16. 16 once. 16 twice. 16 sold. George Springer. $16 to Mike Podhorser.
How we covered this one?
Colton and Wolf. Sedan Raffaella, $3. $4 from Leroy. 5. Raffaella. Did I hear 6? No, $5. 6 from Leroy. Raffiella's at 6. Sedan Raffaella is 6. $6 going once. $6 going twice. $6 sold. Raffaella, $6 to Leor. Ian's up. Let's not do it.
Trevor Story, $6.
Trevor Story, $6. 7 from Jeff. 8 from Ian. That's Trevor Story at 8. 9 from Jeff. 10 from Ian. That's Trevor Story at 10. $10 Story once. $10 Story twice. Trevor Story goes $10 to Ian Kahn. Rob is up.
Okay, Carlos Correa for 11.
Carlos Correa for 11.
Well,
12 for Jason. 13 from Jeff. 14 from Patrick. Carlos Correa at 14. 15 from Doug. Correa at 15. 15 going once. 15 going twice. 16 from Patrick. 17 from Doug. Carlos Correa at 17. 17 once. 17 twice. 17 sold. Carlos Correa, $17 to Doug Dennis. Was that you? Patrick's up.
Brian Pepio.
Ryan Pepio, $1. Pepio for $1.
2.
2, Colton Wolf.
3.
3 from Leor. 4 from Ian.
5.
5 from Chris.
6.
6 from Ian. $6 on Ryan Pepio.
7.
7 from Rob Leibowitz. Pepio at 7. $8 from Schechter. That's Ryan Pepio at 8. $8 going once.
9.
I got 9 over here from Rob. 10 from Larry. Pepio at 10. $10 going once.
11.
11 from Rob. Ryan Pepio is at 11. $11. $11 once. $11 twice. $11 sold. Ryan Pepio. $11 to Rob Leibowitz. Is that you?
No.
Or is that Patrick? Who's going on? Okay.
Drew Rasmussen, 3.
Drew Rasmussen, $3. $4 Colton Wolf.
5.
5 from Ian. Rasmussen, 5.
6.
$6 from Colette.
7.
7 from Ian. That's Drew Rasmussen at 7.
8.
$8 from Doug. Rasmussen at 8. $8 going once. $8 going twice. $8 sold. Drew Rasmussen, $8 goes to Doug Dennis. And Doug is up.
Always works. Jeffrey Springs for $1.
Jeffrey Springs for $1. 2 from Colton Wolf.
3.
3 from Ian Kahn. $4 from Wolf. Jeffrey Springs at 4. 5 from Leor. That's $5 on Jeffrey Springs. Springs at 5. 6 from Podhorser. That's $6 on Jeffrey Springs. 7 on Dennis. Jeffrey Springs is at 7. Springs 7. Going once. Going twice. And Springs goes to Doug Dennis for $7. Chris.
$1 Tracy.
$1 who?
Trey Sweeney.
Trey Sweeney for $1. Trey Sweeney for $1. Sweeney for $1. Going once. 2 from Rob. That's $2 on Trey Sweeney. Sweeney, $2 once. $2 twice. $2 sold. Trey Sweeney. $2 to Rob Leibowitz. Jeff Erikson.
Grayson Rodriguez for 3.
Grayson Rodriguez, $3. Grayson Rodriguez for 3. $4 from Ian. Grayson, $5 from Andy. Grayson Rodriguez at 5. Rodriguez at 5, going once. At 5, going twice. 6 from Leibowitz. Grayson Rodriguez at 6. $6 once. $6 twice. $6 sold. Grayson Rodriguez. $6 to Rob Leibowitz. Larry's up.
Josh Rojas for 2.
Josh Rojas, $2. Rojas at 2. $2 Josh Rojas, $2 going once, $3 from Doug Dennis, 4 from Larry. That's Josh Rojas at 4. $4 going once, $5 from Doug, 6 from Larry. Josh Rojas at 6. $6 going once, $6 going twice, $6 sold. Josh Rojas, $6 to Larry Schechter. Jason Collette.
Matt Wallner for 10.
Matt Wallner for 10.
13.
13 from Erikson. Matt Wallner at 13. 13 going once. 14 from Doug. 15 from Jeff. Wallner's at 15. 16 from Colette. That's Matt Wallner at 16. 16 going once. 16 going twice. 16 sold. Matt Wallner, $16 to Jason Collette. New round, Mike.
I need another outfielder, so I'll go Mike Toppin for $1.
Mike Talkman, $2 Colton Wolf, $3 Ian Kahn, $4 Colton Wolf, 5 Ian. Mike Talkman at 5. $5 on Talkman, $5 going once, 6 from Doug Dennis. That's $6 on Talkman, $6 once, 7 from Patrick, $7 on Talkman, $7 once, $8 from Doug. Talkman at 8, $8 going once, $8 going twice, $8 sold. Doug Dennis gets Mike Talkman at $8. Leor's up.
Taylor Ward, $5.
Taylor Ward, $5. 6 from Colton Wolf. 7. 13 from Erikson. 14 from Kahn. 15 Erikson. 16 Kahn. That's Taylor Ward at 6-17. Larry Schechter. Taylor Ward at 17. 18 from Doug Dennis. That's Taylor Ward at 18. 18 going once. 18 going twice. 18 sold. Taylor Ward, $18 to Doug Dennis. Rick and Glenn.
Roman Anthony.
Roman Anthony, $5. Roman Anthony, $5. $5 going once. 6 from Leor. Roman Anthony at 6. Anthony, $6 once. Anthony, $6 twice. Anthony, $6 to Leor. Roman Anthony.
You and I will be watching that waiver wire closely. Yeah, I can't believe it.
Ian.
Red Sox on
Bowden Francis, $1.
Bowden Francis for $1. Bowden, $5 from Jeff. 6 from Chris. Bowden, $7 from Jason. $7 on Bowden Francis. Francis at 7. $7 going once. $7 going twice. $7 sold. Bowden Francis. $7 to Jason Collette. Ian.
I just want.
I don't care. Rob.
Freddie Fermin for $2.
Freddie Fermin, $2. Freddie Fermin, $2. $2 for me once, $2 for me twice, $2 Freddie for me goes to Rob Leibowitz.
Good one.
Patrick Davitt.
That was well played. Lane Thomas for $2.
Who is it?
Lane Thomas.
Lane Thomas, $2.
4.
4 from Ian. 5.
6.
6 from Colton Wolf. 7 from
Eight.
Robert. $8 from Ian.
11.
11 from Jeff Erikson. 12 on Lane Thomas.
13.
13 says Jason. That's Lane Thomas at 13. 14 from Patrick. Patrick Davitt has him at 14. That's Lane Thomas at 14. 14 going once. 15 Jason Collette. Lane Thomas 15 once. 16 from Patrick. Lane Thomas 16. 16 once. 16 twice. 16 sold. Lane Thomas $16 to Patrick Davitt. Andy's up.
Kerry Carpenter, 3.
Kerry Carpenter $3. 4 is that 5? 5 from Colton Wolf. 6 from Chris Blessing. 7 Ian. Kerry Carpenter's at 7.
8.
I've got $8 over here.
9.
$9. 11 from Collette.
12.
I've got 12 over here, Ian. Got $12 on Kerry Carpenter.
13.
13. Got 13 on Carpenter. 14 from Patrick. Kerry Carpenter at 14. 14 going once. 15 from Erikson. Kerry Carpenter at 15. 15 once. 15 twice. 15 sold. Kerry Carpenter. $15 to Jeff Erikson. Doug is up.
Tyler Soderstrom for $1.
Tyler Soderstrom. We're now at 2. 3. 4 from 9. 9 from Jeff Erikson. 9 from Jeff Erikson. Tyler Soderstrom. Soderstrom at $9 going once. $9 going twice. 10 from Doug Dennis. That's 11 on Tyler Soderstrom. $11 to Erikson. $11 once. $11 twice. $11 sold. Tyler Soderstrom. $11 to Jeff Erikson. Chris is up.
$1 bullshit.
Bo Bichette for $1. 2 from Colton Wolf.
3.
3 from Ian. Bo Bichette at 3. 10 from Leo. 11 from Ian. That's $11, Bo Bichette. 12 from Doug. 13 from Ian. 15 Colton Wolf. 16 Ian Collin. Bo Bichette at 16. 16 on Bichette. 16 going once. 16 going twice. 17 says Colton Wolf. That's 17 on Bo Bichette. 17 going once. 17 going twice. 17 sold. Bo Bichette, $17 to Colton Wolf. Jeff is up.
Walker Bueller for 5.
Walker Bueller at $5. Walker Bueller at 5. Bueller at 5. Going once. Bueller at 5. Going twice. Bueller at 5. Sold.
Okay.
Walker Bueller, $5 to Jeff Erikson.
I didn't think of the joke, guys. I appreciate that.
You say Bueller, I'll kill you.
Larry Schechter.
My friend saw him at Baskin Robbins last night, shaking his arm.
That's a joke.
Zach Geloff for 4.
Was that Zach Geloff?
Yes.
Geloff at 4.
5.
5 from Ian. Geloff at 5. 6 from Patrick. 7 from Ian.
9.
9. 10. Zach Geloff's at 10 to Patrick Davitt. 11 says Ian. 12. 13 from Jason. 14 from Schechter. That's 14. 15 from Davitt. 16 from Collette. Zach Geloff at 16. Geloff at 16 going once. Geloff at 16 going twice. 17 Patrick Davitt. That's 17 on Zach Geloff. 17 once. 18 from Collette. That's 18 on Geloff. 18 once. 18 twice. 18 sold. Zach Geloff, $18 to Jason Collette. Whose turn it now is.
I know it is mine. It's a team I have to keep going with it. Chris Martin for $6.
Chris Martin, $6. Martin at 6.
It's a cold play.
Chris Martin at 6.
7.
I should have gone that. All right, $8.
I have them highlighted in yellow here, so 9.
$9, Jason Collette. Chris Martin at 9. $9 on Chris Martin, $9 going once, $9 going twice, $9 sold. That's Chris Martin, $9 to Jason Collette. New round, Mike Podhorzer.
Tyler O'Neill for 10.
Tyler O'Neill, $10.
11.
$11 bid on Tyler O'Neill. O'Neill at 11, 12 from Schechter. 13 from Dennis. 14 from Patrick. 15 from Doug. That's Tyler O'Neill at 15. 15 going once. 15 going twice. 15 sold. Tyler O'Neill, $15 to Doug Dennis. Leor's up.
Jonathan India, $10.
Jonathan India, $10.
11.
12 from Ian. 13 from Jeff. 15 from Colton Wolf. 16 Ian Collin. That's Jonathan India at 16. India at 16 going once. India at 16 going twice. 17 from Podhorzer. That's 17 on Jonathan India. Going once. Going twice. And sold. Jonathan India goes $17 to Mike Podhorzer. Yes.
Yes, that's flexibility.
Mike, that was from you? No, it's Lee Orton. All right, Rick and Glenn.
My team is on the floor.
Try to run ahead.
Oh, yeah, good idea. Why didn't I think of that?
Those in glass houses should not throw stones.
It's an excellent point. Let's see. Let's go with Gary Sanchez for $2.
Gary Sanchez for $2. Gary Sanchez, $2.
Free.
I heard 3. Was that for Mike?
The only one that you can.
All right, Gary Sanchez at 3. $3 once, $3 twice, $3 sold.
No longer wolf.
Gary Sanchez, $3 to Mike
Because I
Podway.
already had. Doesn't matter. I should have been
Ian
in all
Kahn,
these years.
You had 3 lights out you could have used. for this.
I know. Sorry.
Andrew Vaughn, $5.
Andrew Vaughn, $5. Andrew, 6 from Patrick, 7 from Glenn, $8 Ian, $9 Patrick. That's $9. $9 going, $10 for Mike. $11, Patrick says. Forgot who we're getting on.
Andrew Vaughn.
Thank you. $11, Andrew Vaughn to Patrick. $11 going once. $11 going twice. $11 sold. Andrew Vaughn, $11 to Patrick Davin. We're all this up.
Jose Caballero for 3.
Jose Caballero, $3.
4.
$4. Caballero at 4. 6 from Erikson. That's $6 on Jose Caballero. $6 going once. $7 from Schechter. $7 on Caballero. $7 once. $8 from Erikson. 9 from Schechter. That's Caballero at 9. $9 going once. $9 going twice. $9 sold. Jose Caballero. $9 to Larry Schechter. Who's you?
Me.
Patrick. Max Scherzer. For $1. Max Scherzer for $1. $2 for Wolf. $3. $4 for Wolf. Scherzer at 4. Max Scherzer at $5. Podhorser. That's Max Scherzer at 5. $6 says Jason. 7 says Mike. $8 Ian. That's $8 on Max Scherzer to Ian Kahn. $8 once. $8 twice. $8 sold. Max Scherzer. $8 to Ian Kahn.
Kumar Rocker, 1.
Kumar Rocker for $1. $2 Colton Wolf. $4 from Jason Collette. $4 on Kumar Rocker. $4 on Rocker once. $4 on Rocker twice. $4 from Kumar Rocker to Jason Collette. 4. Doug Dennis.
Kenley Jansen for 4.
Kenley Jansen for 4. 5 says Colton Wolf. Jansen at 5.
6.
I've got 6 over here from Robin. 7 from Mike.
9.
I got 9 from Ian. Kenley Jansen at 9. 10 from Podhorser.
11.
11 from Kahn. That's $11 on Kenley Jansen. Kenley Jansen at 11. $11 once. $11 twice. 12 says Mike. That's $12 on Kenley Jansen. $12 once. $12 twice. 13 from Ian. Kenley Jansen at 13. 13. Hit that delete button. 13 once. 13 twice. 13 sold. Kenley Jansen. $13 to Ian Kahn. Is that Doug? No, that was Doug. Chris.
$1 Christian Moore.
Christian Moore for $1. $2 Andy. Christian Moore for 2. Christian Moore at $2 to Andy. $2 going once. $3 for Doug. Christian Moore at 3. $3 one. $4 Jason. That's Christian Moore at 4 to Jason Collette. $5 Rob Leibowitz. Christian Moore is at 5. $5 going once. $5 going twice. $5 sold. Christian Moore. $5 to Rob Leibowitz. Jeff Erikson.
Carlos Estevez for $3.
Carlos Estevez for $3. $4 Colton
Five.
Wolf. 5 Ian Kahn. 6 from Colton Wolf. Carlos Estevez $6. 7 from Blessing. 8 from Colton Wolf. That's $9 Leroy's. Carlos Estevez, $9. Estevez is at 9. $9 going once. $10 Colton Wolf. Carlos Estevez at 10. $10 once. $10 twice. 11 says Potthorser. It's Carlos Estevez at 11. $11 once. $11 twice. $11 sold. Carlos Estevez. $11 to Mike Potthorser. I'm proud of you. Jeff, was that you?
It was.
Right? Larry?
Jake Rogers for 2.
Jake Rogers for 2. 3 says Colton Wolf. 4. Got Jake Rogers at 4. Is that Larry?
Yes.
Yep, $4 on Jake Rogers. 5 says Colton Wolf. Rogers at 5. $5 once. $5 twice. $5 sold. Jake Rogers. $5 to Colton Wolf. Jason Collette.
Willie Castro for $5.
Willie Castro at 5. 6 says Andy.
7.
7 says Ian. Willie Castro's at 7.
8.
8 from Jeff.
9.
9 from Ian. 10 from Jeff.
11.
11. I've got $11 from
12.
Jason. 12 from Chris. That's Willie Castro at
13.
12. 13 Jason Collette.
14.
14 Chris Blessing. That's 14 on Willie Castro. Castro at 14 once. Castro at 14 twice. Castro at 14 goes to Chris Blessing. Mike.
JJ Blade for 7.
JJ Blade, $7. $8. 9 from Patrick.
11.
11. We're 11 from Jason, 12 from Ian.
13.
13 from Jeff on JJ Blade. Blade 13 to Erikson, 14 Con. 15 Erikson. That's Blade at 15. Blade at 15 to Erikson. Blade once. 16. I thought it was Jeff. No,
I did say.
yeah, it was Jeff. I got Jeff. 16 from Patrick. That's JJ Blade at 16. 16 going once. 16 going twice. 16 sold. JJ Blade. $16 to Patrick. New York.
No, I'm just, no.
Jordan Westbrook, $12.
Jordan Westberg, $12. Westberg at 12.
13.
13 from Colton Wolf.
14.
14 Ian Kahn. 15 Davids. 16 Colton Wolf. Westberg at 16. Westberg at 16 to Colton Wolf. 16 going once. 16 going twice. 17 from David. That's Jordan Westberg at 17. 17 going once. 17 going twice. 18 from Colton Wolf. That's Jordan Westberg at 18. 18 once. 18 twice. 19 from David. That's Westberg at 19. 19 once. 19 twice. 19 sold. Jordan Westberg, $19 to Patrick Davitt.
I was looking at like a quarter of my eye.
Rick and Glenn.
Is half left still? You said all right. I said no. Oh my God, that's let's go with Brandon Lau for $1.
Brandon Lau for $1.
$7.
$7 from Erikson. Brandon Lau at 7. $8 from Ian. Brandon Lau at 8. $9 from Jeff. Brandon Lau at 9. Did I hear 10? 10 from Larry. 11 from Ian. Got $11 on Brandon Lau. $11 going once. $11 going twice. 12. 12 from, what's that, Leor? No, Potthorser. $12 on Brandon Lau. $12 going once. $12 going twice. 13 from Ian. That's Brandon Lau at 13. 13 once. 13 twice. 13 sold. Brandon Lau. $13 to Ian Kahn. And Ian, you're up.
Yeah. Whoever Torres, $4.
Glaber Torres, $4. I've got 5.
Obligatory 6.
6 from Colton Wolf.
Obligatory 7.
$7 from Ian.
8.
8 from Blessing.
10.
10 from Erikson.
11.
11 from Khan. Labor Torres at 11.
13.
13 from Schechter. Torres at 13. 13 going once. 14 from Khan. Labor Torres at 14. 14 once. 14 twice. 15 from Colton Wolf. Labor Torres at 15. 15 once. 15 twice. 15 sold. Labor Torres. $15 to Colton Wolf. Rob.
Luis Bonicio for
Luis Rengifo, $5. Rengifo for 5. Rengifo for 5. 6 is Colette. Rengifo for 6. $6. $7. $9 from Erikson. Rengifo for 9. 10 from Colette. Luis Rengifo at 10. 11 from Erikson. That's $11 from Rengifo. Rengifo at 11 once. $12. Podhorzer.
Damn it, Larry, shut up.
Podhorzer, it's got it at 12. $12 on Rengifo, $12 once, $12 twice, $12 sold. Luis Rengifo, $12 to Mike Podhorzer.
We're the third.
How much for Rengifo?
12. Patrick.
Tanner Hope.
Tanner Houck for $1. 2 from Colton Wolf. 3 from Blessing.
4.
I've got 5. 5 on Tanner Houck.
6.
6 from Blessing. Tanner Houck at 6. 7 from Colton Wolf. Houck at 7. $7 going once. $7 going twice.
8.
8 from Leor. That's Tanner Houck at 8. $8 going once. $8 going twice. $8 sold. Tanner Houck. $8 to Leor.
Joe Adele.
The player is Joe Adele. The opening bid is $8. Joe Adele for 8.
9.
9 from Khan.
10.
10 from Colette.
11.
11 from Khan. That's $11 on Joe Adele. Joe Adele at 11. $11 going once. $11 going twice. $11 sold. Joe Adele, $11 to Ian Khan. Doug.
Jackson Holiday for $1.
Jackson Holiday for $1. We're 2 from Andy. 3 from Wolf. $9 from Jeff. Jackson Holiday at 9. Jackson Holiday at 9. Jeff Erikson, $9 once. $9 twice. $9 sold. That's Jackson Holiday. $9 to Jeff Erikson. Chris is up.
Luke Rowley, $1.
Luke Raley for $1. I've got $8 from Andy. Luke Raley at 8. $9 from Paulette. 10 from Schechter. Luke Raley at 10. 11. Got $11 on Raley. $11 going once. 12. Is that Larry?
Yeah.
$12 Luke Raley. $12 once. $12 twice. $12 sold. Luke Raley. $12 to Larry Schechter. Jeff is up.
Liam Hendricks for 3.
Liam Hendricks for 3. $3 on Liam Hendricks. Hendricks at 3. $3 going once. $3 going twice. $3 sold. Oh, got 4.
He's a Red Sox. You can't get it.
Leor's got him at $4. Liam Hendricks at 4. $4 going once. $4 going twice. $4 sold. That's Liam Hendricks. $4 to Leor. Larry's up.
Moving back in.
$4.
All right, guys. So moving back into the room so we can chat about some of the questions that are in the chat, as well as discuss what people have been doing here in the audience. Also gives my laptop a chance to charge. And then after the next break, we talk to some people and interview them about what their teams are looking like. We'll talk more, or I'll stream the auction room once again. So just give me a second as I kind of shape up the board. So we had a question a little bit ago that I definitely want to get to. A couple questions, actually. So in these leagues, everyone has discussed guys they like or don't like. Does that ever factor into your nominating and bidding in these types of leagues where you can basically pre-scout the competition? Absolutely. So it's definitely part of the strategy that I employ in terms of my nomination strategies, especially once you get kind of a feel for how a room is going to be, right? So every auction is different in that sometimes oftentimes what we see is kind of what we saw a little bit early on here, which were the prices were really hot. They were throwing out high priced guys and they were going for a lot of money. And so if you're sensing you're in a hot room where a lot of money is going to get thrown around, it's a really good time to throw out other people's guys, right? And so knowing that, like this league, for instance, it's a 12-team league, 10 players played last year in this league. There's only 2 players playing in the AL only a league this year for the first time. So, and a lot of these guys have been in this AL only league for 5, 10, some for 20 years. And so you kind of know these players really, really well, and you know who they're going to be going after. Plus, the vast majority of people are producing content in the industry, whether that's podcasts or whether that's the writing in the industry. And so you know who guys are going to want to target. Rick and Glenn are notorious for going after New York Yankees. Ian Khan is a big Yankees guy. Jason Collette is a big Rays guy. So if you're trying to soak up money from individual players and you know who they like, you of course want to throw out some of these guys that might be bigger priced guys that'll soak up a lot of money from those guys. And this gets used against people all the time. It gets used against me all the time as kind of a person who puts a lot of the guys out there that I really love out into the ethos. That becomes, I know that no one's going to let me have a guy like Spencer Schwellenbach for cheaply, right? Him being one of my big guys that I'm really in on this year. And this happens every single year. Now, the auction makes that in some ways a little bit different. It really depends on the player that is auctioning, right? And so we get to kind of the follow-up question that William asked right here, which was, do you feel that puts pressure on you to try to get guys whom you've planted the flag for, right? So I think that is largely dependent on the individual drafter, right? I think a lot of people feel the need they have to go get their guys, right? I've been talking about, this guy all season, whether it's Lawrence Butler or, for me, Spencer Schwellenbach, and I have to make sure I leave the auction with them. A lot of people feel that way, and you'll see hey, all of a sudden, you'll see a price go, oh, man, I knew that, Jason really liked that guy, but I didn't think he'd spend that much. For someone like me, it's not as big of an issue, right? Because I really try to let the auction come to me. So I have, all of my auction values for every single player that is going to be thrown out at auction. And I'm not going to go over those auction values. Honestly, I'm only going to go under those auction values. So let's say I have Spencer Schwellenbach, at $15. If he gets to, if the bidding gets to $14, I'm not going to 15 because I want discount on my perceived value. Now, my perceived values on my guys are going to be higher than maybe consensus. So it's more likely than not that I will walk away from the auction this afternoon with a lot of my guys, but I don't hold myself personally to those auction values or to making sure I walk out with specific guys. We saw this many years ago in in I think it was AL only Tout Wars, where a guy is like the night before, it's like, I'm leaving the draft with Vlad Guerrero Sr., right? So this is how long ago this was. And he legitimately spent like $70 on, because everybody knew he wanted to leave that auction. And so they kept bidding him up and bidding him up. And as I think it is, Rupert right here is mentioning, a few years ago when I was really, really high on Cedric Mullins, the room wouldn't let me get him for a cheap price. I ended up letting him go because it got to a point, I think it was $18, where I was like, I have him budgeted him as a $17 player, and I'm not going above my values, right? So auctions are about extracting as much value as you can from that auction while building a cohesive team that works well together. And so for me personally, I know other people are different, right? They'll go over their auction values to go get their guys. I won't. I will only go actually either at most to my auction value, but I'm really trying to go under because I'm trying to extract as much value as possible in every single guy. Can we get this feed during my draft? Yes. So Eric Halterman's going to be running this feed, and I'm going to explain to him exactly how I've done this. So it'll be very similar to this, where there'll be times in which he is kind of giving direct analysis of the auction going on, and other times where I'll tell him, you can just set up the computer in there to stream, and you can pick up the noises from the auction. So my auction will be streamed as well as the NL will be streamed tomorrow, and the head-to-head will be streamed tomorrow as well. So make sure you guys check out all of those auctions. Is it possible to always go under? Yes, and that's what you should be aiming to do, is always go under your value, right? That is how, because what you're doing is you're saying, like, when you're buying $260 worth of players, you want $300 plus worth of value from that, right? And so every time you go over your auction amount that you've budgeted, or that you say, hey, this player is worth this amount of money, and anytime you go over it, you're giving away value, right? You're paying more than you're getting back in return if you believe your auction values to be correct, right? So you actually, yes, is it possible? Yes, it's not only possible, but it's what you should be doing. You should never really be going over your auction values. And the best auction players are the ones that stick to their values, right? You have to have good values, good projections, whatever system you're using. I use my own projections, but there are great other projection systems out there like ATC and the BAT and Steamer and Rasball, and there's a lot of great projection systems. But if you believe the system, the projection system, or your value system that you're using, you should always go under it, right? It's really, really important, because otherwise you are giving away value to someone else. Because every dollar you go over your value means there's more value in the draft, right? So if I have a player budgeted at $30, or if I see a player is worth $30, if I spend $35, that means there's $5 worth of value in the pool that I'm not getting, right? That I've just given away to somebody else. That they're able to, go get a $30 player for $25 because I spent $5 over. So you should always be going under your auction values. These are some great questions, by the way. Really, really appreciate you guys not just watching stream, but interacting with the stream as well. Really helps kind of keep things going. But let's go talk about kind of what's happened since I've just been live streaming just the room itself. Let's talk about some of these teams. We'll just start at the front of the auction board and kind of work our way through. Patrick Davitt was that guy, right? He had not spent any money. Everybody was like, oh, hey, is Patrick going to leave money on the table? He has spent a lot of money since then, really trying to clean up in this middle, right? He's already filled out almost his entire offense at this point since that first break. We talked already about him getting Ryan Jeffers at 15, Danny Jansen at 13, but he's filled out a lot of the rest of his offense. Andrew Vaughn at 11, Jordan Westberg at 19, Andres Jimenez at 17, Jeremy Pena at 17, Ryan Mountcastle at 11, Byron Buxton at 14. We remember that one. Lane Thomas at 16, JJ Baudet at 16, Evan Carter at 13. So instead of spending high-priced dollars on a few players and then filling in with $1 guys like we're going to talk about with the next guy, Andy Andres, We have a full roster of teens players, not a single offensive player for $20 more. Now, he's only gotten 2 pitchers, Johan Duran and Felix Bautista, both relievers at 20 and 22 and $20 respectively. It will be interesting to see, does Patrick go for an all reliever team? Let other people buy all the starters, and he buys these 2 closers and now fills in the rest of his team with relievers, punting, strikeouts, and whip, and trying to win everything else. I don't know if this is the offense that can do that, but it would be a really interesting strategy. He just purchased another offensive player, his utility, so he's now filled up his entire offense. Now he still has his 2 swing players that can be either offense or pitching. It'd be interesting to see what he does there. Dalton Varsho at $13. Let's go back and talk about Andy Andres, right? Last we saw, Andy Andres had Cal Raleigh, Alejandro Kirk, Isaac Paredes, Aaron Judge, Brent Rooker, and then 3 big starting pitchers in Skubal, DeGrom, Logan Gilbert. But he'd spent a ton of money. Since then, he's only added 2 players. And one, he literally just added a $5 Clark Schmidt to go along with that pitching stuff. And he added a $17 Anthony Volpe. He was really aggressive early. He spent a lot of money early. He's had to back off. He has not bought anybody, or he's only bought those 2 players in the last hour. But he's going to have to start filling in these guys. But he only has $15 to spend. He still needs 12 players. Andy Andres is going to be sitting around just hoping to buy anybody. A max bid of 4 the rest of the way, with still 12 players left to go to pick up. Doug Dennis has filled out a lot of his roster. Austin Wells at 16. Tristan Casas at 21. Royce Lewis at 18. Jose Altuve was one of his first purchases at 25. He picked up Carlos Correa recently at 17. He's taking a shot on Ha-Seong Kim. He's going to have to kind of stash him until May, $7. Maybe a good purchase for later on in the season. He's got an entire outfield filled up with Cedric Mullins, Rishi Palacios, Mike Tauchman, and Taylor Ward. And then I also picked up an outfielder at his util spot in Tyler O'Neill. His pitching staff is Max Fried, Brian Wu, Devin Williams, Drew Rasmussen, and Jeffrey Springs. I wasn't a big fan of the pairing of Fried and Wu at the top of his rotation, but I actually really like Rasmussen at $8 and Jeffrey Springs at $7. I feel like those are really, really good buys and kind of help offset still a lot of instability in that rotation for Doug. I'll be interested to see how he kind of finishes out that rotation. Chris Blessing was another guy who was aggressive early on. He only has $19 left to spend with 10 players left to go. So a max bid of $10. He's got Connor Wong at $10, Jose Ramirez at 42, Willie Castro, multi-positional, can play a lot of different spots for him at 14. That's all he has for infielder. He's got an entire outfield filled up. He filled that out before the break, including adding Colton Cowser in his util. But he's got Victor Robles, Jason Dominguez, Kyle Isbell, Wyatt Langford. And his pitching staff is still Framber Valdez, Joe Ryan, Taj Bradley, and Andres Munoz. And he's added Lucas Urseg since the break. Jeff Erikson has done a lot of work, and he's spent a lot of money so far, but he's got a much more full team than some of these stars and scrubs guys. He's got Yanier Diaz at $17 as his only catcher so far. Picked up Jonathan Aranda since the break at $13. We talked about the Caminara buy, but he also picked up Christian Campbell at $7. Jumped in late to grab him. Corey Seager at $29 was a purchase pre-break. But he added Tyler Soderstrom since the break. I really like that Soderstrom buy. You know, a guy who's got a lot of power, but actually a better hit tool than I think people give him credit for. Is going to be moving to that better stadium in Sacramento. I like the Soderstrom buy. Also added my boy Kerry Carpenter. Love that purchase. There was a little bit of a bidding war on that one. Thought it might go even higher, but stopped at 15. Jeff gets a nice purchase there. Added Jackson Holiday at his util. He's already got his first swing guy in Carlos Santana. He was the first person to put someone in that swing position. So I'm interested to see how he's going to fill out kind of the rest of his outfield and maybe that other swing position. Then he added Bailey, or his rotation we talked a lot about because I really like the start of it. Bailey Over, Spencer Arrighetti, Shane Baz, Ronald Blanco, Reese Olson, and Jeff Hoffman were all before the break. Since then, he's added Walker Buehler and literally just now added Tyler Holton. I'm a little worried maybe about his save situation because I mentioned I'm not as big of a fan of Jeff Hoffman this year, considering kind of the medical issues that voided 2 deals in free agency. Taking a gamble, Tyler Holton maybe gets some saves in Detroit. I really like Jeff's pitching, especially the starting pitching. I think that's a real, especially like a Walker Buehler is your number 6 starter in the AL only feels like kind of a coup right there. I really like that pick as your 6th starting pitcher in AL only. Larry Schechter, he has been a little bit active, but not extremely active since the break. He has Shea Langelier as a catcher, Luke Raley at first, which was a recent buy. Also, Josh Rojas and Jose Caballero, both purchases since the break. Added Michael Garcia, which I really like. A lot of speed right there. I think an underrated guy. Added Anthony Santander as well since the break, and already had Adolis Garcia. His pitching staff has only added Chris Bassett to his staff of Emmanuel Clase, Seth Lugo, Bryce Miller, and Kevin Gosman. Jason Collette, his team is getting pretty close to full. He's filled all of his offensive positions, just needs to fill his swing positions and his pitching. Logan O'Happy, Victor Caratino, Vinny P, Dylan Moore, Zach Geloff. 18 for Zach Geloff seems like an extreme amount. I definitely want to talk to Jason about that because that feels like a lot of money spent on Zach Geloff. But you do get power and speed. Cam Smith, which I really like, has kind of a sneaky potential pickup. I don't think he's going to make the team out of camp. I think he could be up really, really early. Stephen Kwan, Jorge Soleri already had prior to the break, but added Matt Wallner and Parker Meadows. Meadows probably starting the year on the IL, but a good gamble there if he can come back. And then added Chandler Simpson. He finally got a Ray, right? You got a speedy Ray. Simpson could steal 1,000,000 bases, but I don't think he's starting the year in the majors either. So I think Jason might have some issues with too many guys either starting the year on the IL or in the minor leagues. There's going to be a lot of backfilling off the wire, which isn't very easy in AL only. His pitching staff has Garrett Crochet, Hader, George Kirby. He had Bowden Francis, Chris Martin, Kumar Rocker, and Louis Varland. So he's kind of gone cheap pitching. He only has $11 to spend, 4 players needed, so a max bid of 8. So Jason's going to be kind of a little quiet here as other people start to fill up their positions. Then you got Podhorzer, who is another one of the guys who took an early buy on Ronald Alvarez, but then was very quiet until the first break. Since then has added Gary Sanchez, Luis Rengifo, Jonathan India. He also has added Riley Green and George Springer to his outfield of Jordan, Rosarena, and Luis Robert. His pitching he's got the second fewest amount of pitchers behind Patrick Dowd, McClanahan, and Kikuchi before the break. Since the break, Flaherty and Carlos Estevez, but he hasn't spent more than $17 on a pitcher. He's definitely going more in the cheap pitching department. Rafael Robb, who had Sal Perez and Jonah Hyman as catchers. He already, prior to the break, had Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Rafael Devers in his infields. Had Cedane Rafael for $6. I'm not a big Cedane Rafael fan. I know he's not very good in on-base percentage, but he's multi-positional eligible, and at $6, that feels like a good price. He's going to play every day. Definitely need other guys to bring up your OBP, especially when you've already rostered a guy like Sal Perez, who doesn't really help as much in on-base percentage leagues. So maybe some OBP issues, but other than that, like just pretty decent counting categories for not having a really full offense yet. He has added Roman Anthony too, is more of a stash play, probably not going to make the team at camp. Really like the pitching there for Rafael. Luis Castillo, Cole Reagan to the top of the rotation, Mason Miller an elite reliever, and then Tanner Houck, Liam Hendricks, and Michael Wacha. I think Michael Wacha, one of my favorite pitching buys, at $7 and only. Like, dude, all he does is pitch good innings. Not a huge strikeout rate, but you got guys like Reagan's, Mason Miller to help with strikeouts. Tanner Houck will help with strikeouts. So I really like Rafael's pitching staff so far. I'm interested to see what he does with the rest of his offense. Rick and Glenn. Rick came in and talked to us for a little bit. Really appreciated that. He's added Jake Rogers to his Bo Naylor catching tandem. He already had Yandy, Jazz Chisholm, but since the break in his infield, he's added Gleyber Torres, Bo Bichette, and Jake Berger. Still hasn't added any outfielders to Cody Bellinger and Lawrence Butler, so interested to see what he does there. His pitching, the only pitchers he's added since the break, he already had Jackson Jobe, Hunter Brown, Zach Eflin. He picked up Aroldis Chapman and Gavin Williams, taking a gamble on Chapman being the closer in Boston. And a lot of people are taking gambles on Gavin Williams. Rafael Rabb just added Ryan O'Hearn at $6 in his outfield. So interesting to see that one and see what else Rafael does. Moving over to Ian Kahn, who's got a fairly close to full team or full offense and still a good amount of money to spend. He's got $36 to spend on 7 players. We talked to Ian, who's great to kind of chat one-on-one with him. We already talked about his catching combo of $10 for Darno and Mitch Garver. Adding to his infield, he already had Paul Goldschmidt and Bobby Witt prior to the break when we were talking to him. But he's added Josh Young for $9, Brandon Lau for $13, and Trevor Story for $10. Really love all his purchases. I'm not as big on Story, especially in a format like this, because of the volume issues. But and honestly, Brandon Lau and Josh Young can have volume issues too. But at those prices, I don't think you can really complain. He added Trevor Larnach and Joe Adell. I think Joe Adell will get volume. What kind of volume or what kind of skills you get with those volumes is, I think, a bigger question. And then Larnach, he's going to be the strong side of platoon, but in third in that Twins lineup when he does, I really like Larnach this year, especially in a league this deep. And then he takes a gamble on Christian Morel. I'm not a big fan of Christian Morel, but at the price, $11 and an only, I think that's a pretty interesting gamble. I think you'll know pretty quick on how Morel's faring in Tampa Bay this year. And at least he's away from the Trop, which I think really hurt him in being able to make in-zone contact. He's also added pitchers, Max Scherzer and Kenley Jansen. Kenley Jansen at 13 seems like a really good price because we know he's an established guy, closer. You know, he's not an elite guy anymore, but he's going to get all the save opportunities as long as he's healthy and unless they trade him away. And then even if they trade him away, he's going to be close wherever he goes. So finishing up with Rob Leibowitz, who has got a fairly full team. He's only needs 5 players left. He's got $14 to spend on those 5 players. Adley Rutschman and Freddie Fermin as his 2 catchers. Love that. He already had Christian Walker, Bregman, Simeon, and Zach Neto in his infield. He's added Trey Sweeney as his last infielder. He had Julio Rodriguez before the break, but he's added Josh Lowe and Johnny DeLuca. I really like what Rob Leibowitz is doing. Added Christian Moore at $5. That's an interesting gamble. His pitching staff of Jose Barrios, Pablo Lopez, Pete Fairbanks at $11 feels like a great price, even though I'm not a Fairbanks guy. Ryan Pepiot, $11 is fine. Taking a gamble on Grayson Rodriguez, like I said in the chat, don't know when he's going to be back, but a pretty interesting gamble. Just added Jake Myers as I'm talking right now to finish out his outfield. So he just needs 2 swing guys and 2 pitchers. He's also got Jason Foley and Jose Leclerc. So kind of going for some cheap relievers, hoping maybe he can, luck into a save guy. He's got the handcuff to Mason Miller if something happens to Miller for $2. So I really like what Rob Leibowitz is doing in this. One of my favorite teams so far in this auction. Rick and Glenn just added Ernie Clement, kind of a utility guy. He's going to play a lot. I don't know what you're going to get from him, but cheap, $3. So can't really complain there. They still have $30 to spend on 8 players, so they're actually in a pretty decent spot money-wise. So now we're all caught up. Other guys have gone since I started talking here. Edwin Uceda, reliever for the Rays, goes to Patrick Davitt. I think Patrick Davitt's going all relievers. He's filled up his offense since we last talked about his team at the beginning of, or since I removed the stream from the room. He's added Willie Abreu and Masaka Yoshida for $10 and $4 respectively. His offense is full. Patrick Davitt's offense is full. He only has 3 relievers. I think he's going all relievers here. He's going to try to win ERA, whip, and saves, and then try to dominate the offense while double punting strikeouts and wins. We'll see if he's able to do it. I don't know if his offense is strong enough to pull this off. He does have $24 to spend on 6 pitchers, so he can get kind of whatever pitchers he pretty much wants to get rest of the way. But I think if you're going to do this, you want a little bit stronger offense. He's got a very kind of balanced, spread the risk kind of offense. And if you're going to do something like this, I almost want to see you load up on stars and scrub offensive players, really, really kind of dominate that offense. I'll be interested to see how he kind of does this the rest of the way. Mike Podhorzer just picked up Brian Rocchio for $7. An accumulator type that's kind of boring, but that's fine. And kind of some of the guys you want to fill in your team with in AL only. So real interesting team there. Podhorzer has 8 players now left to get with $28 to spend. A lot of pitchers he needs. So, all right. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Frank's asked, is Lawrence Butler worth keeping on a 2-year contract, $20 in a keeper league? I think he is, depending on the size of your league. So one of the things I always remind people when they're in one of my chats or in a stream like this, make sure you include your league size if you're going to ask a question like that, because that really determines a lot of the value. And then what's after AL Tout? It is the 15-team mixed auction that I am going to be a part of. It starts at 2 p.m. Eastern, which is in a little over 2 hours. So, it was just tweeted out. So I am retweeting that right now. So, and it looks like the stream link's going to be at toutwars.com. So I don't know if they're going to look or have me stream it from here, and then they will embed that link there. But I will figure it out one way or another, and I will tweet that out and when it becomes available. So, yeah, I think Larnach is probably going to platoon with Bader, be my guess, but he will definitely be on the strong side of platoon. I don't know if they're getting ready to take another break here, and we are going to get some more. Jeff, are you guys on a break? Jeff, you guys on a break?
Yeah, it's a very short one.
Okay. If you have time to come talk to me, I'd love to talk to you.
Okay.
So they're going to take a very short break here. And I'm going to try to talk to Erikson real quick if I can especially about his pitching staff, because like I've been talking about the entire stream, really love what Jeff's done with his pitching. And really love what Jeff has done with his team entirely. At this point, Jeff has 3 players left to get, 1 catcher and 2 outfielders, and he will be done. He may be one of the first people to finish here, but his pitching staff is completely filled. Since we last talked about his team, he's added Luis Garcia, reliever. So I assume the reliever and not the starter, but I don't know. We'll ask him. But just love what Jeff did with his starting pitcher. Did not go over $18 on any pitchers. Didn't go over $17 on any starters. Bailey Ober, Spencer Arrighetti, Shane Baz, Ronel Blanco, Reese Olson, Jeff Hoffman, Walker Buehler, Tyler Holton, and Luis Garcia. Honestly, I love Jeff's team overall. It feels like exactly the kind of team I would like to draft. Obviously, certain individual players I might quibble with. I don't know if that I'm as in on Camaro as other people, but I just absolutely love what Jeff Erikson has done during this auction, and he's here. You can go ahead. So Jeff, we've been talking about your pitching staff the entire stream, just because I've been absolutely in love with what you did. Didn't spend more than $18 on a single pitcher, but you built a really solid rotation. Bailey Ober, Spencer Arrighetti, Shane Baz, Ronel Blanco, Reese Olson, and then you added Walker Buehler for $5. Was this kind of your plan to play in the middle of the pitching, or did it just work out well for you?
Yeah, a little bit. I was. I feel like I still spent more on my pitching than I would have liked, but in this room, it's tough to get the hitters. So, I threw out Buehler at 5, thought I would go for higher. So, okay, I got stuck with him. I kind of got stuck with Baz, even though I'm happy with him. I just have enough exposure to Baz as it is. And I went to the well with Arrighetti, with Glenn and Rick. In retrospect, seeing what other pitchers were going for, his whip is awfully hot. That's the one thing I'm concerned about. At least it was last year. I'm banking on some semblance of improvement. If he throws a 1-4 whip again, I'm probably not doing so hot. But everybody else I had pretty decent ratios with, I thought.
But you've got like a guy like Bailey Ober, who's a great whip asset
Yes.
that can offset if Spencer Getty has it. And that's, it's one, you didn't spend a lot of money on any individual pitcher, which I love spreading the wealth.
Mhm.
But two, I think they all fit really, really well together. And so just, I've been saying, master class of a pitching staff. Love your offense too. Did you get the guys you wanted, or were there?
I'm one short right now.
Okay.
In fact, I'd rather trade one $10 pitcher for a $10 outfielder.
Okay.
Today too. But there's some out there I still like, but I don't have a whole lot of budget to fill it with there. So in retrospect, I wish I would have allocated a little bit differently. I feel okay about it, but I'll tell you, last year, Justin, I fell short offensively a lot in my leagues, not just here, but in other leagues. And that is my concern, is I didn't allocate enough towards hitting. So we'll see. I've got my favorite buy among the hitters was Yainer Diaz for 17. And when you consider some of the other catcher prices, I didn't mind Aranda and Soders from both. I thought those were relatively affordable. I was trying to kind of focus a little bit on OBP and WHIP, were the ones I didn't want to ignore. That cost me some speed. Yeah, that's the trade-off. Is for the 18th billionth time in a row, I'm light on speed.
Well, you got, David Hamilton. Maybe you get lucky and he gets a little bit more playing time than you're expecting.
And I've got Campbell too, so
Yeah,
think about that. But that can work both ways. He could be a binary thing where one gets and the other doesn't. But again, for combined 12, it's okay.
Yeah, I just think you did a really great job of constructing your team. I'm a big fan of Soderstrom. I'm a big fan of Kerry Carpenter this year. I like the gamble on Jackson Holiday. I'm actually surprised he didn't go for more in this room with a couple guys who really like young prospects. I think you've done great so far. I'm really interested to see how you finish it out.
All right, well, knocking all the wood here. See if I get
Good luck rest of the way.
Thanks, Justin.
All right, Jeff Erikson from rotowire.com. It was awesome to get to talk to him because I've just been glowing about his team the entire time. So it's been a fantastic draft by Jeff. It's been a fantastic draft by a lot of people. And I think they're going to get started here again. So when they do, I will move the stream back in there so you guys can kind of watch the end game, because the end game is where things really get fun. And the question is, do you root for Justin or Stanfield? You root for Justin, obviously. I love Frank Stanfield. It's going to be fun drafting with him. My room is going to be really fun, filled with a lot of personalities. And so I hope y'all enjoy. Frank says you got to root for Stanfield. I'm sure he's the better first name. I disagree there, Frank. I think Justin is the better first name. I do love the fantasy baseball community as well. We have a lot of fun, and this is one of the funnest weekends of the year. It's fantastic to come out every year for New York and Tout Wars. I've been here since Wednesday, and I'm here through tomorrow. So it's been just a ton of fun. And this has been a really fun auction to kind of watch and be a part of from a streaming sense. I think there are a lot of really interesting teams, a lot of different builds. Really interested to see how Andy Andres is going to fill out the rest of his team, needing 12 players and having $15 to do so. You've got some other interesting spots. Right now, Rafael Rudd has $64 with 10 players to go. Is he going to be in danger of leaving money on the table? I think that is one of the teams to watch here towards the end. Ian Kahn, another one who's got $36, 7 players to go. You've got Rick and Glenn, who've got $30 to spend and 8 players left to go. And then you've got a lot of teams who are already kind of in that dollar days mode. Rob Lewitz only has $9 to spend on 4 players, so he ain't leaving any money on the table. And this is a league where you don't want to leave any money on the table. Never want to leave money on the table in any auction. But Tout Wars has a cool rule. I think every league, every auction league should add in, if you can, your home league, right? So if you have a player who gets injured that you bought at auction. So, for instance, last year I spent $60 on Ronald Acuna in the mixed auction. When he got injured and was out for the rest of the year, I was allowed to drop him and recoup that money. And I was really able to recoup 10 times what I paid for him on auction. So I actually got $600 worth of fab. One of the things that kept me afloat and kept me competitive in the league was getting so much fab back. I was able to trade $210 worth of fab to Jeff Zimmerman for Wyatt Langford when he had too many outfielders at one point. So this is a league in which you do not want to leave money on the table. If you have $20 left on the table for your last player, you spend $20 because if that player gets injured, you can recoup that money in fab, which is so valuable in these only leagues where the fab becomes a massive thing at the trade deadline and players being traded over. So do we think Raphael targeted Rafael Devers and Cedric Rafael because they are his namesake? Well, that's actually really funny. And I'm gonna ask in the room about that. But Leo is actually Uncle Leo is driving for Rafael as a stand-in. But I do have to ask, like, were you directed to draft Rafael Devers and Cedric Rafael because they are his namesakes? That is a really good question. All right. I'm wondering if we're going to get started here pretty quickly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move the stream back into the other room so you guys can watch kind of the end game for a little while. And then as we get closer to the end, I'll bring the stream back in here and we'll talk about where things are. If you have questions, I'll be answering things in the chat as much as I can. Comparing, let's answer this question before I move it. Comparing ATC auction calculated values to AAV on the NFBC, all the top players, AAV are over ATC. Are you just out on the top guys? So, I think that's really auction to auction dependent. But generally speaking, I end up not getting a lot of top guys because I'm not willing to go over my values. Now, some people will adjust their values in auction, right? They're seeing all the players going over their auction values. They'll say, okay, well, maybe I'm giving away some of my value, but I'm not giving as much away as other people if I'm not going more than $1 or $2 over my value. So it really depends on what kind of player you are. I tend to not go over my values, which means, especially in the NFBC world, I end up with a really balanced team, right? I'll be the last player, and this may happen. It happened last year in Tout Wars, right? I was the last person to get a player. I spent the first hour of the auction without any players on my team, and then I cleaned up the middle, and I was done an hour before anybody else. So it really just depends on what kind of player you want to be and how strict you are to sticking to your auction values. But it's really league to league dependent. I've had leagues in the NFBC, I've had leagues at Tout Wars where, hey, sometimes the room starts off cold. And I think, hopefully nobody from my league is watching right now. I think today is one of those days where in the mixed auction, it could be a little bit more colder to start than it normally is because there's a lot of people in the Tout mixed auction league today that like to play the middle, that are like me. And so I may adjust my strategy a little bit and try to be more aggressive early because I think there's a chance that the cooler part of the auction might be at the beginning as opposed to being in the middle like it normally is. Yes. So you're always looking for relative value. So if you have a player that you value at $30, you're always looking for, to get him at 27, 28. You want dollars value. It doesn't matter where in the auction that comes. So last year, it was really, really, in the mixed auction, it was really, really hot at the beginning. All the value was in the middle, right? But 2 years ago, I was here, and all the value was at the beginning, right? I ended up getting like Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Francisco Lindor and like Paul Goldschmidt when he was still kind of an upper tier, still an upper tier player. Like all the value was at the beginning of the auction. So it really just depends on the room you're in, the auction you're in, but your goal is to soak up as much relative value as you can throughout the auction. So at the end, you have, $320 worth of value from your $260 spent, right? That's the goal. What you don't want is to have spent $260 on players and gotten like $230 worth of value. Then you've clearly lost the auction. So that is the goal. Quick thoughts on Churio in a 12-team league. I love Churio in a 12-team league. I think he showed a lot. Obviously he has a ton of upside. I think if there's one guy that we're potentially talking about that is going in the second round of 12-team drafts that is a top 5 pick next year, I think Churio is one of those guys that easily could be that dude. He's got a ton of upside. I think he showed a lot better hit tool than he had early on in his minor leagues. I think he's really improved that. He plays in a good park. I think that team is good. They're not as good as they were maybe last year, but he should still benefit from the park and the team around him. I really love Jackson Trio. I honestly think he is in the conversation to be a back-end first rounder that you're getting in the second round of 12-team leagues. So I'm going to move back in because I do believe they are right now. Yes, they're back starting. Two pitchers in a row go to Ian Kahn, Sagano, and Casey Myers for $5 and $6 respectively. I'm going to move back in there and we can watch the stream we can watch the auction as it goes on the stream. So give me 1 minute as I move in there, guys. And I will take the board down because you'll be able to hear everybody as they're going.
Pick up that one. Larry.
David Fry for $1.
David Fry for $1. David Fry for $1. $1 twice. And sold. Larry Schechter picks David Fry for $1. Jason. Ben Rice for $2. Ben Rice for $2. $2 on Ben Rice. Rice for $2 to Colette. $2 going once. $2 going twice. $2 sold. Ben Rice. $2 to Jason Collette. Mike.
Jose Soriano for $1.
Jose Soriano for $1. Jason says 2. Len and Rick say 3. Jose Soriano at $3 to Len and Rick.
4.
$4 on Jose Soriano. Soriano at 4. $4 to Colette. $4 going once. 5 from Colton Wolf. That's Jose Soriano at 5. $5 going once. $5 going twice. $5 sold. Jose Soriano. $5 to Colton Wolf. Leo.
Okay.
It's like 6 or 7 times.
MJ Melendez, $3.
MJ Melendez. I heard 4. 4 from Jeff. 5 from Mike. MJ Melendez at 5. $5 Melendez. $5 once. $5 twice. 6 from Ian Kahn. $6 on MJ Melendez. He's looking at me. He goes, let me know when Mike bids.
Is that you?
Sorry, Mikey.
$6 MJ Melendez. We got 7. $7 on Melendez. MJ Melendez at 7. The Podwords are $7 going once. $7 going twice. $7 sold. MJ Melendez, $7 to Mike Podwords.
If it was somebody else at that point, I would have been.
Melendez lies to it.
Melendez, $7 to Podwords, Colton Wolf.
Let's go with Big Christmas from
Joenti Noel. $2 from Jeff. 3 from Leor. Noel at 3. Mackenzie Noel at 3. $3 on Noel. $3 going once. $3 going twice. $3 sold. Noel, $3 to Leor. Ian is up.
Ben Joyce, $2.
Ben Joyce, 2. $3 from Colton Wolf. 4 from Ian Kahn. That's Ben Joyce. That's $5. Who's it from? Patrick? 6 from Ian. 7 from Patrick. Ben Joyce, 7. $7. $7 Joyce. $7 once. $7 twice. $8 from Ian. That's Ben Joyce at 8. $8 going once. $8 going twice. $8 sold. Ben Joyce. $8 to Ian Kahn. Rob is up.
Fernando Cruz for $1.
Fernando Cruz for $1. Fernando Cruz for $1. $1 once. $1 twice. $1 sold. Fernando Cruz, $1 to Leibowitz.
There's no holes in this.
Patrick.
Chad Green for a
Chad Green for $1. Chad Green, $1. Green for $1 once. Green for $1 twice. Chad Green for $1 to Patrick Davitt. Andy.
Mickey Moniak, 1.
Mickey Moniak for $1.
2.
$2 from Leor. $2 on Mickey Moniak. $2 going once. $2 going twice. $2 sold. Mickey Moniak. $2 to Leor. Doug.
Justin Slayton for 1.
Justin Slayton's for $1. $2 Colton Wolf. Justin Slayton for 2. 3 from Davitt. Justin Slayton for $3. $3 going once. $3 to $4 Colton Wolf. That's Justin Slayton for $4. Slayton for 4 once. Slayton for $5 from Davitt. Justin Slayton at 5. $5 once. $5 twice. $5 sold. Justin Slayton, $5 to Patrick Davitt.
Hey, how much did Moniak go for?
2.
Chris.
$1 Will Way.
Will Wagner for $1. Will Wagner, $1. Blessing, $1 once, $1 twice, and sold. Will Wagner, $1 to Chris Blessing.
You guys have Moniak for 1 or 2 in that sheet?
2.
I know, but is it written as 1 or 2 in the sheet?
I changed it to 2.
Oh.
Sorry.
Jeff Erikson.
Wagner was how much?
1. Wagner was 1 for Blessing. Jeff Erikson.
Oh, that guy's taken already.
Kyle Teal for 2.
Kyle Teal, $2. Kyle Teal for 2. Teal for 2. $2 once. $2 twice. $2 sold. Kyle Teal, $2 to Jeff Erikson. Larry.
Kyle Manzardo for 2.
Kyle Manzardo for 2. $3 Colton Wolf. Manzardo for 3. 4 says Schechter. 5 says Leibowitz. 6 says Schechter. Kyle Manzardo at 6 going to Larry. Manzardo at 6. 7 says Mike. 8 says Larry. 9 says Mike. 10 says Larry. Kyle Manzardo at 10. $10 going once. $10 going twice. 11 says Mike. That's Kyle Manzardo at 11. $12 says Larry. $12 Manzardo. $12 once. $12 twice. $12 sold. Kyle Manzardo. $12 to Larry Schechter.
Get your guy.
Get him.
Jason Collette.
Alan Roden for $2.
Alan Roden, $2. $3 says Erikson. Alan Roden for 3. $3. Alan Roden, $3 going once. $5 says Jason Collette. That's $5 on Roden. $5 going once. $5 going twice. $5 sold. Alan Roden, $5 to Jason Collette.
Oh, nice.
Collette gets Roden for $5.
Brian said I'm now a Roden.
That's good.
Mike Podworthy.
Miguel Vargas for 1.
Miguel Vargas for $1.
2.
I've got 2 over here for me. $2 on Miguel Vargas. Vargas at $3 from Rob Leibowitz. I've got 4 from Ian. This is Vargas at $4. Miguel Vargas at 4. $4 going once. $4 going $5 from Leor. That's Miguel Vargas at 5. $5 once. $5 twice. 6 from Podworthy. That's Miguel Vargas at 6. $6 going once. $6 going twice. 7 from Leor. That's Miguel Vargas at 7. $7 once. $7 twice. $7 sold. Miguel Vargas, $7 to Leor.
I wanted him that week.
Want to trade?
So
I'll call you.
Let's see, that came from, was that Leo or was that you? That was me. Okay, you're up. Leo's up.
We got that stuff.
Okay. The Odi Tavares, $3.
The Odi Tavares for $4 from Erikson.
TV went out.
Hang on one second.
They just timed out on it.
You guys, I don't think tapping the table.
It's like we're playing for the end. Just
You
kidding.
guys pay the bill? All right, we're at Tavares at 4. Hang on one second.
Oh, it's my favorite show.
Commercial.
What they think says it's the final score. No, it's.
Yeah, receive the,
All right.
you'll worry back.
Guys.
And.
Share your screen from.
Wait, there's more.
We only had text messages.
Remember that commercial, right? Yes. Doing this, you can't get it. Somebody else can get it. Like a needle was jumping.
All right, hang on a second. Continuing to hold.
Disappointing.
But that is a good move. That's in there.
So you're gonna stop it early.
Yeah.
I had Jansen. I had to cover Jansen, because I don't believe Jansen's going to catch. I should have waited to watch him. Go pick on somebody else first. Seriously. I have my magic.
They are somebody. I was like, I was targeting veterans and it's Rob Yellow because the name 6. All the theories up the window. Right.
Right. Right. A rabbi created one chance to walk through the wire. That's the stuff. Somebody's up in my.
This is going wrong. Do we need to get somebody from the hotel or something?
Good job, Beverly.
No, we don't. Now hurry up and finish. All right, we were Tavares at 4. I don't know when. $5. Leora. Leota Tavares at 5. $5 Tavares, $5 going once, $5 going twice, $5 sold. Leota Tavares was $5 to Leora. Threw him out there.
That was my nomination as well.
Thank you. Rick and Glenn?
Let's go with Will Brennan.
Will Brennan, $1. Will Brennan, $1. Colton Wolf. $1 once, $1 twice, $1.
2.
2.
Look at that. Got that in. All right.
Will Brennan at 2. $2 going once, $2 going twice, $2 sold. Will Brennan goes $2 to Leor. In.
Matt Verlaine, $1.
Matt Veerling, $1.
2.
I got $2 on Veerling.
Move.
Same with Larry. Veerling at 2. Matt Veerling, $2 to Schechter, $2 going once, $2 going twice, $3 from Ian Khan.
4.
$4 from Larry. Beerling at $4. $4 once. $4 twice. $5 from Ian. That's Matt Beerling at $5. $5 once. $5 twice. $5 sold. Matt Beerling. $5 to Ian. Rob?
Tim Heron for $1.
Tim Heron?
Yeah.
Tim Heron for $1. Heron for $1. Going once. Going twice. Sold. Tim Heron, $1 to Leibowitz. Patrick.
Luke Weaver for $1.
Luke Weaver for $1. $2 to Doug. That's Luke Weaver at $2. $2 Weaver, $2 once. $3 from David. Luke Weaver at $3. $4 from New York. Luke Weaver at $4. $4 going once. $4 going twice. $5. Nope. $4 sold. New York gets Luke Weaver at $4.
Jorge Polanco 1.
Jorge Polanco for $1. $3 from Blessing. $4. I got $4 on Jorge Polanco. 5 from Blessing. That's $5. Jorge Polanco. Chris has got him at 5. 6 from Larry Schechter. Polanco at 6. $6 going once. $6 going twice. 7 says Mike. That's Jorge Polanco at 7. $7 once. $7 twice. $7 sold. Jorge Polanco, $7 to Mike Podworthy. Let's see, where are we at? Is that Andy?
I did that.
No, you did that one.
Let's go.
Doug.
My turn. Robert Garcia for $1.
Robert Garcia, $1. $2 from Ian. $3 from Patrick. Robert Garcia at 3. $3 Garcia going once. $3 Garcia going twice. $3 Garcia sold. Robert Garcia, $3 to Patrick. Gavin. Chris.
$1 Ryan Bliss.
Ryan Bliss for $1. Colton Wolf say 2. Colton Wolf say 2 on Ryan Bliss. Going once. $3. Chris Blessing. $3 on Ryan Bliss. $3 once. $3 twice. $3 sold. Chris Blessing very pleased with Ryan Bliss for $3.
One night.
He's blissed. Jeff.
Wenzel Perez for 2.
Wenzel Perez, $2. $3 Schechter. Wenzel Perez at 3. $3 on Perez, $3 on $4 from Erikson. 5 from Schechter. That's Wenzel Perez at 5. $5 going once. $5 going twice. $5 sold. Wenzel Perez goes $5 to Larry Schechter, who will now give us a name.
Not really. Not necessarily now. I was playing. Was it in 2 weeks?
I can double name Schechter and just go right to water. Larry.
Jacob Wilson for $1.
Jacob Wilson for $1. I've got 2.
3.
3 from Larry. 6 from Rob Leibowitz. 7 from Colton Wolf. That's Jacob Wilson at 7. Wilson at $8 from Leor. Jacob Wilson at 8. $8 on Wilson. $8 once. $9 from Colton Wolf. Jacob Wilson at 9. $9 going once. $9 going twice. $9 sold. Jacob Wilson. $9 to Colton Wolf. Colette.
We're down to David Festa, $2.
David Festa for 2. $3 from Leor. David Festa, 3. $3 going once. $3 going twice. $3 sold. David Festa, $3 from Leor. Mike.
Lucas Giolito for 2.
Lucas Giolito for 2. Giolito for 2. $2 going once, $2 going twice, $2 sold. Lucas Giolito, $2 to Mike Podworth. Leon, $2 to Podworth. Yeah, Leon.
Okay. Zach Little, $3.
Zach Patel, $3.
Four.
$4, Larry. Zach Patel at 4. Patel at 4, $4 going once, $4 going twice,
That's
$5 from Leon. $5 on Zach Patel. $5 once, $5 twice, $5 sold. Zach Littell goes $5 to Leon. Glenn and Rick.
Brieski for that.
Sorry?
Brieski?
Bo Brieski. Bo Brieski, $1.
Whatever.
Bo Brieski, $1 going once, going twice, and sold. Bo Brieski, $1 to Colton Wolf. Ian.
Jack Leiter, $1.
Jack Leiter for $1. $2, Colton Wolf. Jack Leiter at $2. Leiter at 2 going once. Leiter at 2 going $3 from Ian. Jack Leiter at $3 once. $3 twice. $3 sold. Jack Leiter, $3 to Ian Kahn. Rob.
Michael Massey for $2.
Michael Massey, $2. Michael Massey and 2, $3 from Ian. $3 on Michael Massey to Ian, $4 from Rob. Huh? You did. I'll say your last one.
I'll say 5.
All right, he's got it 5. Massey at 5, 3 boys.
You're fine.
Michael Massey at 5, once, twice, gone. Michael Massey, $5 to Rob Leibowitz. Patrick.
Matt Brash for 6.
Matt Brash for 6. $6 going once, $6 going twice, $6 sold.
Andrew
Matt-
Benintendi,
Hang on. Matt Brash, $6 to Davin.
Benintendi, 1, 2.
All right, Andrew Benintendi, opening is 1. Rob's got him at 2. Benintendi at 2. $2 going once, $2 going twice, $2 sold. Andrew Benintendi, $2 to Rob Leibowitz, he's done. Done.
Gio Urshela for 2.
Gio Urshela for 2. Urshela at $2. $2 going once, $2 going twice, $2 sold. Gio Urshela goes $2 to Doug Dentz. Chris.
Hunter Renfro, $2.
Hunter Renfro for $2.
Great.
$3 says Leor. That's Hunter Renfro at 3.
Four.
$4 says Chris.
Five.
$5 says Leor. That's Hunter Renfro at 5. $5 going once. $5 going twice. $5 sold. Hunter Renfro. $5 to Leor. Jeff.
Harrison Bader for $1.
Harrison Bader for $1. Harrison Bader, $1. Once.
Two.
$2, Leor. That's Bader for 2. $2 going once. $2 going twice. $2 sold. Harrison Bader, $2 to Leor.
Wait a second.
Wait a minute, hear me out.
Sorry.
This,
No.
see,
Hang on.
I got a little boost to that, sorry.
he's got no players.
Yeah, I don't think he has.
All right, we're back to $1 then on Harrison Bader.
Am I done?
Yeah,
Good try that.
Maybe your team.
You know what they say, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered.
double check your team.
I don't think David Festa's on his team. That's a good question. David Festa.
Who got David Festa? Okay, yeah, that's right. All right. I think you're done. Check it before we continue. Prepare team. Well, all right, fine. I'll tell you whatever I want to.
Yeah, I've got.
Okay, all right, so we're at Harrison Bader, $1 to Erikson. Bader for $1, going once, going twice, sold. Harrison Bader, $1 to Jeff Erikson. Larry. Heston Kierstad,
$2. 5, 6.
$6 on Kierstad. $6 Pope Wolf on Heston Kierstad. $7 Schechter. Kierstad at $7 going once and twice and sold. Heston Kierstad, $7 to Larry Schechter. Jason.
Mitch Spence for $2.
Mitch Spence, $2. Mitch Spence, $2 once,
I bid more, but I'm not.
$2 sold, $2 going twice, $2 sold. Mitch Spence,
And I'm done.
$2 to Jason Collette, and he is done.
Come on, I've been waiting the whole round to make that joke.
Talk about the obvious. Mike Bogers left.
Spencer Torkelson for 1.
Spencer Torkelson, $2. $4 from Ian Khan. Torkelson at $4. $4, $5 Podwords, $6
Seven.
Wolf, $7 Podwords. That's Torkelson at $7 once, $7 twice, $7 sold.
Look at you.
Spencer Torkelson, $7 to Podwords. Leor's up.
Still nominated.
Oh, no, you're on. Sorry. Fulton Wolf.
Let's go, Yimi Garcia.
Yimi Garcia. What was that? Was it 1 or 2?
$1.
$1, Yimi Garcia. Garcia for $1, going once and twice and sold. Yimi Garcia, $1 to Fulton Wolf. Ian.
Luis Severino, $4.
Luis Severino, $4. Severino at $4. $4 going once. $4 going twice. $4 sold. Luis Severino, $4 to Ian Khan.
I'm done.
And Rob is done. Patrick's done. And
Mauricio Dubon, 1.
Mauricio Dubon for $1. Dubon for $1. That's once. That's twice. And Mauricio Dubon goes to Andy for $1. Doug?
Garrett Whitlock for
Garrett Whitlock for $1. $1 once. $1 twice. And sold. Garrett Whitlock, $1 to Doug Dennis. Chris?
$1, Seth Brown.
Seth Brown for $1. Brown once. Brown twice. And sold. Seth Brown, $1 to Chris Blessing. Jeff, are you still in?
I am.
Okay.
You wouldn't be able to tell, but. Miguel and Dubar for 5.
Miguel Andujar, $5. Going once, going twice, sold. Miguel Andujar, $5 to Jeff Harris.
I'm done.
Larry?
Darren Blanco for $1.
Darren Blanco for $1. Darren Blanco for $1. $1 once, $1 twice, and sold. Darren Blanco, $1 to Schechter. Over to Mike.
Corey Lee for $1.
Corey Lee for $1. Corey Lee for $1. Corey Lee for $1 once, for $1 twice, and sold. Corey Lee, $1 to Podwords. Colton Wolf.
I'm gonna hate myself.
Do it Stanton for $1.
Giancarlo Stanton. Giancarlo Stanton for $1.
Reclaim.
That's weekly. $1 once, Dollar twice. $2. Giancarlo Stanton for
Hey,
two.
just say thank you.
$2. The self-loathing is over. All right, $2. Chris Blessing once and twice. And sold by
Wearing a Mets sweatshirt.
Giancarlo Stanton, $2 to Chris Blessing. We come back over to Andy. Estuary Ruiz, $1. Estuary Ruiz, $1. $1 once, $1 twice, and sold. Estuary Ruiz, $1 to Andy. Go.
Kevin Kelly for $1.
Kevin Kelly for $1. Kelly for $1 once, $1 twice, and sold. Kevin Kelly, $1 to Doug Dennis. Chris?
We're gonna go $1 JP.
JP Sears, $1. Sears for $1. Going once, going twice, sold. JP Sears, $1 to Chris Blessing. Larry?
Dean Kramer for $1.
Dean Kramer for $1. Dean Kramer for $1. That's once and twice. And sold. Dean Kramer, $1 to Larry Schechter. Mike?
Tristan McKenzie for $2.
Tristan McKenzie for $2. McKenzie for $2. $2 once, $2 twice, $2 sold. Tristan McKenzie, $2 to Podworth. Colton Wolf.
Yennier Cano for
Yennier Cano, $1. Yennier Cano for $1. Going once, going twice, sold. Yennier Cano, $1 to Rick and Glenn.
Yes.
Andy,
Brooks Lee, $1.
what is it?
Brooks Lee.
Brooks Lee for $1. $2, says Chris. Brooks Lee for $2. Brooks Lee for $2. Going once, going twice, sold. Brooks Lee, $2 to Chris Blessing. Doug?
Tommy Conley for $1.
Tommy Conley for $1. Conley for $1, going once, $1 twice, and sold. Tommy Conley, $1 to Doug Dennis.
That was the
That was the Doug. Chris?
$1 Hunter Gaddis.
Hunter Gaddis for $1. Hunter Gaddis for $1. Going once, going twice, sold. Hunter Gaddis, $1 to Chris Blessing. Larry?
For Anthony Dominguez, $1.
Sir Anthony Dominguez for $1. Once, twice, sold. Sir Anthony Dominguez, $1 to Schechter. Mike?
Richard Fitz for $1.
Richard Fitz for $1. Red Sox pitcher. Fitz for $1. Once, twice, sold. Richard Fitz, $1 to Podworth. Colton Wolf.
What do I want to do? I would go after Brandon Drury.
Brandon Drury for $1. Drury for $1 once, for $1 twice, and sold. Brandon Drury, $1 to Rick and Glenn. Come around to Andy.
Justin Henry Malloy, $1.
Justin Henry Malloy, $2. This Chris Blessing.
That's what I was gonna do next.
Justin Henry Malloy for $2, going once, going twice. Oh, sorry.
Got Blessing with one open catcher.
What about the SW?
Stanton,
Lee, Stanton, Bliss, and Cowser. Yeah, I don't see a spot.
All right.
All right. New players?
$1 back to him.
We're at $1 on Justin Henry Malloy for $1.
So,
Dollar once, dollar twice.
No, I lost. it.
Sold. Justin Henry Malloy goes $1 to Andy. Doug.
Josh Smith for
Josh Smith for $1. Going once, twice. Sold. Josh Smith, $1 to Doug. Chris.
Shane Bieber, $1.
Shane Bieber for $1. Bieber for $1 once, twice. Done. Shane Bieber, $1 to Chris. Larry. Done. You done? Mike.
Mike Clevenger.
Mike Clevenger for $1. $6. Going once.
Already wrote one.
Going twice. Sold. $6. Mike Clevenger to Rick and Glenn. He's done. Done.
Day down to Andy and Chris and
Juan Makata for $1.
Yohan Makata for $1. Makata for $1. So going once, going twice. Sold. Yohan Makata goes $1 to Andy. Who's next? Chris, you still spot? Chris.
Yes, I'm gonna go with Dylan Dingler.
Dylan Dingler once, twice.
What's the name of that?
Sold. Dylan Dingler. Dylan Dingler, $1 to Blessing.
His brother.
Mike.
I will go with.
$16 yours. I didn't know. That is $2.
Reed Detmers.
Reed Detmers for $1. Once, twice. Done. Reed Detmers for $1 to Podhorse. Andy, you're done?
No.
Andy, you already got a lot.
Yeah. I'm the only one left.
All right, this is draft now. It's all just $1 selections. Andy, you're up.
I'll go with Chris Bubich.
Chris Bubich for $1 goes to Andy. Wait a minute. Does Mike still have a say again? No. Is he the last one?
It's
just Andy. All right, Andy.
Let's go, Andy, let's go.
He's not here telling me there's others. There aren't.
Eduardo Julian.
Eduardo Julian, $1 to Andy.
Mitch Haniger, $1.
Mitch Haniger, $1.
And now it's just pitchers. Haniger can be out.
No, Haniger can go to the outfield. Okay. So you've got a swing and 3 pitchers.
I'm gonna go with JD Martinez as a swing.
JD Martinez for $1. And now 3 pitchers.
Hobie Milner for $1.
Hobie Milner, $1 to Andy.
And
2 more.
Chris Paddock for $1.
Chris Paddock for $1. 1 more.
One more pitcher.
Yep.
Keegan Aiken for $1.
Keegan Aiken, last player taken in the regular draft. We are good. Nice job, everybody.
Really?
Excellent job, Brian. Thank you, Brian.
Really? Here's the order for the reserves. So you guys know, champion Mike gets the first pick. Ian won the NL, so he gets the second pick because you didn't hold your place. Then we go Glenn and Rick, Chris, PD, Rob, Andy, Larry, Doug, Jason, Jeff, and newcomers get number 12. So the RAB team gets the 12th pick. They also get the 13th. All right. I'll talk to Clay. We can copy paste.
Okay.
One more biological break.
Yep, 10 minutes if you want. Reserve draft starts at 12:45.
All right, we'll move into a different room.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Excellent job, Brian. Thank you.
I can do it too.
If you have a few minutes during the break, come talk to the stream about your draft. Huh? I gave it to Steve.
You know where the mac and cheese went?
I think Steve's got it.
All of them? All four of them?
I don't know where the other ones are. All right, so we're going to talk to Patrick Davitt here in a second, just because he has such an interesting build that I want him to talk about it. All right. So we have Patrick Davitt of Baseball HQ. So Patrick, you were the last person to get a player. Did you come in with a strategy that you were going to wait a while, or was the room just too hot to begin with, so you kind of waited?
Well, I wasn't the last person
Oh.
to get one. I was I think I might have been the first one out, actually. Andy Andres was the
No. The last person to get their first player.
the last person to get my first player.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was my strategy, for want of a better term, was to basically do a Doug Dennis, but take it to a bigger extreme. My plan was $50 on pitching, no starters. So I was going to get 2 decent relievers like closers, and then a bunch of fill-in guys to help the ratios. And then I had a plan that all my players on offense were going to be 17, 16, 15, 14, 13. That was it. And it kind of worked. And I had a roster made up that I thought, and I projected it, and I said, hey, I could win the league. I would win the offensive categories with these 14 guys. And I got outbid on all but 2 of them. So, you're kind of always looking around. And to simplify matters, because I'm trying to make my drafts simpler, it's a big problem for me in the past. I just said, if I got a guy for 15, that was a 0. If I got him for 14, I was +1, 16 -1. And it kind of worked. I'm curious to see when I go home. I'll put it into a projections engine and see how I did. I don't think I'm going to do as well as I thought based on my original plan, but some of those $17 guys went for 22, and some of the $15 guys went for 19. And I really didn't feel like I wanted to go over. I was trying to be super disciplined about it. In a way, sometimes in hindsight, I wish I'd have gone the extra buck here or the extra buck there, or not gone the extra buck here or there. But overall, I liked it, and it ended up being 187 and 63, which is a pretty standard plan. And the good part about that was I had a lot of really good relief pitchers at the end for $4, $5 instead of my plan was all $1 guys. So I got guys like Matt Brash, which I think is pretty handy, and a few other guys who are setup guys to questionable relievers. And I got all 3 of the bullpen guys in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So whatever saves go to Minnesota, and I think they're going to be pretty good. I mean, I'm going to be in line for all the saves in Minnesota. So we'll see. It was fun. It was interesting. I don't think I'll quite do it the same way, but unless they change the rules and say you got to have an innings minimum. But I always thought when Doug Dennis was doing this, I always thought that it was a brilliant plan.
It is.
Just to ignore starting pitching and just lambaste the hitting. And I didn't want to do it by starting with Aaron Judge, which is what he did to win a year, because it seemed like every way I gamed it out, I was stuck with those guys at the bottom. Because if you think you have $210 to spend on hitting, that's $15 a slot exactly. So if you get a $40 guy, you got to average out over 3 guys, and that's 40 plus 5 total, right? 45 for 3 guys. And I didn't want to have a bunch of $1 and $2 guys.
I mean, I kind of figured out what you're doing fairly quickly when your first 2 pitchers were closers. I was like, oh, okay. I wonder if Patrick's trying to pull a Doug here.
Yeah.
And I think you did it fairly well. I do wonder about the offense. Is it going to be enough? Because in order to double punt, you have to win those offensive categories to make it work. But we saw this, and I wonder, I should actually ask Doug, because during the COVID kind of time off, we did those historical drafts.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people went to double punt ideas in those historical drafts because you knew you could plug in these stats. and it worked really, really well as long as nobody else was doing it, right? And so I'm wondering if that's where Doug got the idea to kind of try this out of town, and it's because it's worked really, really well when he did. And I thought Doug was going to try to do it again this year, and then very quickly it became apparent. Oh no, he picked up Max Fried, he picked up Brian Lewis. Like, okay, no one's doing it, and then I noticed you were doing it. So it was a really fun draft to watch you put together. I'm really interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah, it was really. I was really breathing a sigh of relief when Doug got Max Fried, because I thought, well, maybe I'm the only guy here. I was talking about this with Jeff Erikson last season, maybe even 2 seasons ago. We were just walking down the street to a restaurant, and I was asking him about, because Doug had just basically broken new ground for this league by doing it, and I said, do you think it can work? And Jeff said, I think it can work if you're the only guy doing it.
Yep.
And I thought about it, and I thought, well, that's not the way it works for all the other 11 guys, right? They're all doing basically the same thing, with slight adjustments. Why couldn't 2 guys do it? And then just have a challenge to do it better than that one guy.
I think you've got to be able to outdo that one guy, because if you're going to take ones in multiple categories, you got to win them all, right? And so you have to be the person that just dominates those other categories. But like I said, we've seen Doug do it. I think is it possible 2 guys can do it and both do well in the league? It is. I think it becomes a lot harder to pull it off. But I'm glad you seem to pull it off. I'm glad, and I'm really interested to see how you kind of pull it off during the season.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. And I thought part of my strategizing first was I expected Doug to do this, and so what I thought was I want him to take the 1s and I'll take the 2s in those categories, which I thought a whole bunch of setup guys and stuff would help me with wins. I got 2 guys that get me saves. I think I may be the only one in the league with 2 sort of established full-time closers. So I think I should win saves, barring something
injury
happening
or something,
or somebody percolating to the top on somebody else's roster from the bullpen because of an injury ahead of them or whatever. Or just, look at the Boston bullpen.
It's a mess.
Yeah, it really is. And Liam Hendricks went for $7 or $8 in this.
I think he went for 4, and then Chapman went for 5.
Yeah, something like that. So everybody's expecting, maybe if the guy at the top has a bad season or gets off to a weak start, somebody's going to move up in there and get 20 saves for $5, which would be fantastic.
I still think even if that's the case, getting the entire Minnesota bullpen and then getting Felix Bautista, he looks good in spring. I was a little worried about him prior to spring, but now I think I feel a lot more comfortable with him. I think you're in pretty good shape to make a run at this.
Well, I hope so. It's going to come down to offense. One thing I did notice, I use Chandler's BABS system just as a tracking thing, and I have a lot more injury risk than I'm super comfortable with. I got Carlos Correa, I think is a problem. There's a few other guys who have capital INJ on their BABS sheet, which means heightened risk. It's not INJ plus, which is like even Byron Buxton isn't an ING plus, which I thought was weird, and I didn't really want him. But at the time, I looked at the rest of the shortstops and I thought I'm not going to get anything out of this slot. Outfielders at that point. So I thought, if this is the year that Byron Buxton gets 480 plate appearances or 5 1/4, something like that, and tamps down the injuries to only a quarter of the season instead of 40%. He's got the talent, he's got the skills. If he gets the plate appearances, I think it could be a diamond in the rough.
If he
rough on the diamond,
he can be. He is one of those guys. If he can ever put it together a full season, it could be special. The problem is he just hasn't been able.
Able to do it. Yeah.
Maybe this is the year. We'll see.
We can hope.
Well, I appreciate you coming by and talking to me. I
All
really
right.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Great job today.
Thanks.
And I'll definitely be seeing you later.
Yep.
All right, everybody. They're going to be doing the reserve rounds here, and I will finish out the stream by letting you guys watch those reserve rounds. Really appreciate everybody who has been watching the stream and interacting with the stream, and please make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to the Tout Wars YouTube. I believe the Eric Halterman is going to be running the mixed auction stream, and he's going to be doing it kind of similar to me, where he's going to be talking some, and then he will also just do a live stream from the auction room itself. And I believe, unless someone tells me otherwise, we'll probably just stream it from my YouTube and then put that link onto the Tout Wars website. So really, really appreciate everybody. And this will be available on my YouTube. So if you want to go back and watch any of it, it will be available as soon as the stream's over. So you'll be able to go back and watch that. So I'm going to go put that into there because they're starting they're currently starting right now the reserve rounds. You got Mark Church leading off and then Hayden West Nessie second. So let's go watch these reserve rounds.
Goes to Chris Blessing. Patrick?
I'm gonna take
Jose Miranda. Goes to Patrick Davitt. Rob?
Noah Schultz.
Noah Schultz. Goes to Rob Leibowitz. Andy?
Chase Meadroff.
Chase Mydroff.
Meadroff.
From the White Sox. Chase Mydroff. Larry?
Marcus Stroman.
Marcus Stroman goes to Schechter. Doug?
Ariel Rodriguez.
Yariel Rodriguez.
Ariel Collins already taken stuff.
Yariel Rodriguez. Jason?
Curtis Mead.
Curtis Mead goes to Jason. Lens? Jeff Erikson?
Zach DeCenzo.
Zach DeCenzo goes to Erikson. And two to Lior. Back to back.
Okay. How about Kobe Mayo? Is he available?
Yeah. Kobe Mayo. Next one.
Stick with the brand, Marcelo Mayo.
Marcelo Mayer. Coming back. Jeff.
Tyler Freeman.
Tyler Freeman goes to Erikson. Jason.
Sorry about that. I'm gonna do Shea Whitcomb.
Shea Whitcomb goes to Colette. Doug.
Brendan Rogers.
Brendan Rogers. Doug Dennis. Larry.
Tommy Penguin.
He's
Okay,
done.
on. Oh, sorry. Alex Verdugo.
Alex Verdugo. No.
Oh, you're right. Lance McCullers.
Lance McCullers goes to Andy. Lance McCullers to Andy. Rob?
Tyler Anderson.
Tyler Anderson goes to Leibowitz. Patrick?
Ezekiel Duran.
Ezekiel Duran goes to Patrick Davitt. Chris?
David Schneider.
Davis Schneider to Chris Blessing. Rick and Glenn.
Justin Anderson.
Justin Anderson to Colton Wolf.
No, Tyler Anderson.
Justin Anderson to Colton Wolf. Ian?
I think you're lying, Mr. Anderson.
Simeon Woods Richardson.
Simeon Woods Richardson. Simeon Woods Richardson goes to Ian. Mike for two.
Kenta Maeda and Alex Cobb.
Kenta Maeda. Alex Cobb to Podhorser. Ian.
Javier Baez.
Javier Baez goes to Ian. Rick and Glenn.
Nick Kurtz.
Nick Kurtz.
As opposed to.
Chris Blessing.
Richard Hurts.
Blake Baldwin. Blake Baldwin goes to Blessing. Patrick.
I will take. This is Jake Cousins.
Jake Cousins. Jake Cousins to David. Rob.
David Robertson.
Who was that?
David Robertson.
David Robertson. Goes to Rob Leibowitz.
Lennon Sosa.
Lennon Sosa goes to Andy. Lennon Sosa. Larry.
Vaughn Grissom.
Vaughn Grissom to Schefter.
Hey, one second.
He's on fire this week.
Blake Baldwin meant Brooks Baldwin.
Brooks Baldwin.
I'm
sorry.
Just wanted to be
I
sure.
already had a few other.
Doug.
Cutter Crawford.
Cutter Crawford
Oh, wow.
goes to Doug Dennis. Jason.
Osvaldo Vito.
Osvaldo Vito goes to Jason Collette. Jeff.
Von Grissom, no, Kate Povich.
Cade Povich goes to Erikson. Lior for 2.
Dane Dunning.
Dane Dunning. And we start the last round with
Give me 1 second, sorry.
It's an option.
We will go with Jason.
Chase Young. Jeff.
Let's go Juan Brito.
Juan Brito goes to Erikson. Jason.
Colby Thomas.
Colby Thomas goes to Jason Collette. Doug.
Ramon Urias.
Colby Thomas goes to Collette. And Ramon Urias goes to Doug. Larry.
Christian Vasquez.
Christian Vasquez goes to Schefter.
Good trade to announce, just paid me daily over for Von Grissom.
Andy.
Jack, I don't know how to say it.
Caglianone. Jack Caglianone. Okay, Andy.
Who you got?
Rob.
Edgar Cuero.
Edgar Quero. Goes to Leibowitz. Quero. Patrick. Robert Stevenson. Chris. Samuel Basello goes to Chris Blessing. Rick and Glenn. Eloy Jimenez to Rick and Glenn. Ian.
Gabriel Arias.
Gabriel Arias to Ian. And our last player, Mike. If he says just a second, we kill him.
Just a second. Let's watch it.
I gotta do Todd's work.
Sorry, Mike, you get back to us tomorrow. It's okay.
Sure. Oh, it's my name.
Yeah. You're on the last one.
Gabriel Arias. Joe Boyle.
Joe Boyle. Joe Boyle goes to Podhorser, and that is it. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you,
Very obvious.
Great job. Really great job. Yeah, I really all my answers. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm curious. I gotta run forward from there.
Thanks so much. The reserve order. Even though this is 4 hours. Jumping around and gold. Other times.
If I do banter, well, you tell me.
All right, everybody, that's the stream today. RotoWire is going to stream out the next draft, so make sure you're subscribed over to RotoWire, and Tout Wars will post it on the Tout Wars site. Thank you guys all for watching.